Chapter 24:16. Enchantment Demon Banner. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. This was going to be troublesome. The Enchantment Demon Banner was a famous demon artifact of the demon race. It didn't have any offensive ability, but it was best at trapping enemies. Once trapped in the demon artifact's divine power, it would cause one's primordial spirit to lose its position in time and space. Even if the yang spirit left the body, it would be difficult to rush out of the demon artifact's divine power. It would be like a headless fly in the demon chi until it was swallowed by the demon chi. In the great war of gods and demons in ancient times, a demon saint used the enchantment demon banner to trap a star field. Countless cultivators, including a supreme venerable, were trapped in the demon chi world for 10,000 years, and no one could escape. When the human cultivators defeated the demon race's army, the god cultivators trapped in the star field were trapped to death. More than 2/3 of their demon chi was swallowed, and the supreme venerable was greatly injured. This battle greatly increased the reputation of the bewitching demon banner, and its ferocious reputation was illustrious. Su Fong and the others were trapped in the enchantment demon banner's divine power, and it wasn't a serious matter for a short time. However, how could the devils and Tao Defiance who were pursuing him only possess such ability? If they waited for the evil lord and the demon saint to come, they could only wait to be captured alive. The dragon bird can gather the yang chi of heaven and earth, condense the divine sun, and dispel the demon chi. It can counter the enchantment demon banner's power, but my identity will be exposed. Su Fong hesitated to release the dragon bird. The demon chi around them became denser. Even with Su Fong's perfect vision, he could only see a range of 1,000 feet. His other senses were also suppressed and distorted. Suddenly, Chi Mian laughed complacently. I didn't expect that the treasures I prepared to enter the 9th underworld would be put to good use before we even arrived. Qian Gang's surprised voice sounded. Chi Mian, you have a treasure that can counter the enchantment demon banner? Dixuan laughed loudly. I almost forgot that the Chi people have a creation divine artifact that specializes in countering all kinds of maze and illusion formations. The enchantment destroying south-pointing chariot. Su Fong said in surprise. The enchantment destroying south-pointing chariot? What kind of magic treasure is this? Chi Mian sneered disdainfully. You don't even know the famous magical equipment of the human race? How ignorant. However, you're a big goblin. It is normal for you to be ignorant. Dixuan explained patiently. The illusionary destroying south-pointing chariot is a fortune divine artifact. Its fame in the primordial era far surpassed the bewitching devil sifting banner. In the world-shaking battle that would decide the outcome of the battle between the human race and the demon race, when the two sides were fighting fiercely, the experts of the demon race released demonic fog that filled the world, causing the human race's army to fall into chaos. The experts of my race used the illusionary south-destroying compass chariot to break through the devilish mist and defeat the devilish army in one fell swoop, causing the devilish race to suffer great losses and thus establishing our race's position as the ruler of the 3 realms. Break the illusory devil sifting banner. What an amazing magical treasure. Only now did Su Fong understand why the supreme existence of the imperial people wanted Chi Mian to follow him into the 9th underworld. He had the illusionary south-pointing chariot, which could at least guarantee that he would not get lost in the chaotic space-time in the 9th underworld. It seemed that the Chi people were indeed extraordinary. They had a fortune divine artifact like the illusionary south-pointing chariot, and Chi Mian's status among the Chi people was also extraordinary. In addition, the Chi people could take out such a supreme magical treasure like the illusionary south-pointing chariot, which showed that the Chi people also had a big plan in mind when they entered the 9th underworld. QL 11-inch, I activated the illusionary south-pointing chariot, and it was easy to break the power of the bewitching devil sifting banner. Big Goblin Yuan Li, remember this. Chi Mian, save your life this time. Let's see if you still dare to be arrogant in front of me in the future. Chi Mian shouted domineeringly. Su Fong smiled indifferently. Chi Mian took out a magical treasure. It was a two-wheeled chariot that looked similar to the Infinity Chariot. Upon closer inspection, it was far less domineering than the Infinity Chariot. There was a puppet standing on the chariot, which the Infinity Chariot didn't have. After Chi Mian activated the magical treasure, the puppet on the illusionary south-pointing chariot suddenly raised an arm and pointed in a certain direction. The chariot sped forward, releasing a burst of power that could crush all illusions, crushing the layers of demonic fog. The small chariot was like a giant sword that could break through the wind and waves, destroying all illusions. Dixuan and the others followed closely behind the illusionary south-pointing chariot. After a dozen breaths, they finally rushed out of the demonic fog and reappeared in the natural void. Everyone was surprised and happy. Dixuan praised. It's all thanks to Chi Mian this time. Lord Dixuan, thank you for your praise. It's just a small matter, not worth mentioning. Chi Mian said humbly, but he couldn't hide the smugness in his eyes. Who knew his smugness only lasted for a moment, and then his expression immediately froze. The aura of death had condensed into a sky that enveloped them within 1,000,000 kilometers of the void. A dark and gloomy land had appeared below them. It wasn't an ordinary substance, but a substance condensed from devilish energy, and it emanated monstrous devilish energy. The aura of death and devilish energy formed an enormous sealed world that shackled Dixuan and the others. This world was an extremely enormous formation that had been created by the joint efforts of 1,000,000 devils and Tao Defiance. Shockingly, there were 12 peerless experts who had reached the peak of the Lord God realm amongst these devils and Tao Defiance, and they had sealed up the surrounding heaven and earth. Their goal was very simple, and it was to keep Dixuan and the others busy until the demon saint and evil exalted lord arrived. Dixuan smiled bitterly. Looks like there's going to be a bloody battle this time. Chu Bingyan asked, even the Lord Dixuan's celestial ruler can't break through these shackles? Dixuan said, the celestial ruler is only a spatial teleportation treasure, and it can't break through restrictions and formations. Not to mention that this is a world created by 1,000,000 experts at the same time. Then he sighed helplessly. There's a creation artifact called the Sun-Pierce Golden Rainbow, and it can break through any shackles and restrictions. I heard that it's in the hands of the Holy Sun, Su Fong, but I've never seen him use it. Perhaps the rumors are wrong. Su Fong rubbed the tip of his nose, and he felt very helpless in his heart. Then a wave of doubt surged in his heart. Strange. I clearly had the chance to obtain the Sun-Pierce Golden Rainbow back in the Golden Rainbow King's world. But why did I give it to Goddess Luo? What happened before, but why can't I remember? Bai Ziho said, the only thing we could do now is to kill our way out of the encirclement before the evil exalted lords and demon saint arrive. That's the only way. As Dixuan nodded, a supreme divine might that could control heaven and earth surged out from his body. A ray of divine light slowly rose from the top of his head, and it swiftly condensed into a mountain that was 1,000 meters tall. This mountain was none other than the exalted celestial mountain. Of course, it was not the exalted celestial mountain itself, but Dixuan's heavenly Tao avatar. The exalted celestial mountain was not as simple as a mountain. It represented the supreme will of the heavenly Tao and supreme divine might, and it was above all things and laws, controlling heaven and earth and the universe. Imperial people's powerhouses had the talent to control the heavenly Tao, and the great Tao that the outstanding geniuses cultivated was the Tao of imperial heaven, which was above all great Taos. Therefore, like Dixuan's heavenly Tao avatar was also the exalted celestial mountain. However, unlike Dixuan's heavenly Tao avatar was clearly clearer and more realistic. It was like the exalted celestial mountain itself, which had shrunk countless times. The divine might it released was also incomparably majestic, and it was filled with supreme divine might, causing everyone to tremble. Dixuan's cultivation has already reached the height of an intermediate lord at such a young age, and he's even condensed the heavenly Tao avatar to such a shocking level. His strength has definitely surpassed lords, and ordinary sovereigns might not be able to defeat him in a battle. Su Fang was extremely shocked by Dixuan's strength as well, but he did not feel inferior. If he was given another 10 million years, he was confident that he would be able to surpass Dixuan, and even surpass sovereigns and transcend a world. Bai Ziho shouted loudly, "All hail, the Lord Dixuan! My heavenly Tao avatar might not be able to break through its shackles." "Don't be happy too early." Dixuan seemed to be extremely calm. He shook his head and smiled. The exalted celestial mountain formed from the heavenly Tao avatar rumbled down towards the ground that had been condensed from baleful qi. Space shattered, the laws collapsed, and the ground shattered. Terrifying cracks appeared in the sky, and the entire world shook violently. The Million Tao Defiance and Devil Race experts all spat blood at the same time from Dixuan's full-strength attack, and tens of thousands of experts were shaken to death on the spot. Dixuan's terrifying attack actually possessed such terrifying might. Su Fang estimated that even Shroud's clone's full-strength attack would not possess such shocking might. However, the baleful qi on the ground that had been shaken to pieces surged, and then it recovered to its original state. The cracks in the sky swiftly closed as well. Even though Dixuan was powerful, the world that had been shackling them had been created by a million experts at the same time. It was absolutely not something that he could break through by himself. After executing this attack, Dixuan's face had become pale, and his aura had clearly withered slightly. Clearly, he had consumed quite a bit of energy. Everyone's hearts suddenly sank. Dixuan looked at Su Fang. "Grand Elder Yuanli, do you have any ideas?" Before Su Fang could speak, Qi Mian laughed coldly with disdain. "Even the Lord Dixuan is unable to break through its shackles. What can a big goblin do?" Su Fang laughed coldly and embarrassedly. He actually sat cross-legged in the air and closed his eyes as if he had nothing to do with this. Next, Chu Bingyin, Qin Gang, Eli, Bai Ziho, and Qi Mian each executed their powerful abilities and magic treasures, but the result was naturally to no avail. Their hearts sank to the bottom, and even Dixuan lost his composure. His brows were tightly furrowed. If they continued to delay, they would all be unable to escape the fate of being suppressed when the demon saint and evil dominator experts arrived. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes and said, "The tide of Nether Yin Qi is receding. This is the best time to enter the 9th underworld." So he had been using his perfect hearing ability to observe the ruins of End? V's jet tide. Qi Mian said angrily. "So what? Can you break through the shackles and escape into the ruins of End? V's not enough. I have no choice but to suspect that you intentionally led us into the trap of the Devil Race and Tao Defiance." "Qi Mian, shut up," Dixuan shouted coldly, and then he said to Su Fang, "Grand Elder Yuanli, could it be that you have a way to escape?" "Of course I have a way to escape, and that's to kill all the Devil Race and Tao Defiance." Chapter 24:17. You, Qi Mian mocked and ridiculed. "How are you going to kill all the Tao Defiance and Devil Race experts with this lousy chariot?" "Qi Mian, shut up. Your younger brother Qi Zhao was killed by the Devil Race expert Shui Yin in the lifeless prairie. What does that have to do with Yuan Li's Grand Elder? Yet, you keep targeting Yuan Li's Grand Elder. You're really unreasonable. If you dare to mock Yuan Li's Grand Elder again, even if he doesn't take it to heart, I'll smash your stinky mouth." Qin Gang roared angrily. Su Fang had saved his life in the lifeless prairie, so he was naturally grateful to Su Fang. However, Qi Mian kept mocking Su Fang, so even a good-tempered Buddhist cultivator like him couldn't take it anymore. QL11 it turned out that Qi Mian's younger cousin, Qi Zhao, was also a Yuan Tiangong genius. When he was training in the lifeless prairie, he was captured by Shui Yin along with Goddess Luo and many other cultivators. Shui Yin used this opportunity to force Su Fang to show himself. Su Fang agreed to Shui Yan's challenge, but half of the cultivators were still devoured by Shui Yin. Qi Zhao was one of the unlucky ones. Qi Mian took out his anger on Su Fong and kept targeting Su Fong along the way. Dixuan stared at the Infinity Chariot. That's the legendary supreme creation artifact of time, the Infinity Emperor's Infinity Chariot. As expected of a supreme imperial people, not only did he recognize the Infinity Chariot at first glance, but he also knew the previous owner of the Infinity Chariot. A creation artifact? And it's a time-type creation artifact. Chu Bingyin and the others were shocked, and their eyes lit up as they looked at the Infinity Chariot. Then, endless greed and desire to possess surged in their eyes. The Infinity Chariot quickly enlarged. Su Fong stepped onto the chariot and sat down on the seat. Crack, crack, crack. It felt like a chariot loaded with heavy objects was slowly moving out. However, the chariot wasn't carrying any objects, but the wheels turned slowly. It was as if the wheels of history were moving unstoppable. Wherever the wheels passed, they left behind two mysterious Xian Guang traces in the void, just like the two-wheel tracks left behind by the Infinity Wheel. He took a closer look. From the inside of the Xian Guang, where the ruts had formed, one could see scenes of people and things that had long disappeared in the long river of history. Heaven and earth were opened. All things were born. The stars moved, and the myriad of phenomena changed. Various scenes of the changes of the universe appeared one after another. Scenes of gods, demons, and countless other strange races battling each other in the heavens and earth could be seen in these ruts. The Infinity Wheel carried with it the momentum of a surging river of history and rolling wheels. Wherever it went, the demonic energy and the aura of death that filled the world vanished without a trace. The world was also crumbling under the wheels. The sky and the earth were shattering layer by layer. The universe chariot's speed seemed slow, but it actually surpassed the limits of time. Before Di Xian and the others could wake up from the intense shock, the universe chariot had already crushed through millions of miles of space, crushing the world that shackled them into pieces. Along with the destruction of the world, the million devils and Tao Defiants sprayed blood from their mouths and fell into a heavily injured state. What sort of divine artifact is that? It actually possesses such terrifying might. Kill him. We absolutely can't allow these humans to escape. Over a dozen peerless experts who were only a step away from the peak of the Imperial Exalt realm and the Tao Defiants were shocked and astounded. They disregarded their injuries and leaped through the sky to attack Su Fong. The other experts swarmed over as well, and they charged madly towards the Infinity Wheel and Dixuan's group. Bang! Bang! Demonic energy and the aura of death surged like stormy waves, and they were about to drown Su Fong. The Infinity Wheel continued flying while facing the attacks of the devils and Tao Defiants. The wheels rolled while emanating the extremely formidable might of time, and it shattered all sorts of attacks before being swept away by the wheels and vanishing within the ruts. Crack! 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 The Infinity Wheel was unstoppable. It instantly arrived before the experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance who were comparable to peak over gods, and then it instantly crushed them. The Xian Guang flickered repeatedly within the ruts and swept 3 experts into it. A few shrill cries resounded in succession before they were swept away into the river of time and vanished without a trace. 9 other peak over gods had erupted with their full strength and even burned their vitality and death quintessence to finally escape the terrifying might of the Infinity Wheel. The other experts of the Devil race and Tao Defiance weren't as lucky as them. They were swept away by the wheels of the Infinity Wheel, fell into the ruts, and were swallowed up by the river of time. In the blink of an eye, 3 peerless experts comparable to peak over gods and almost 100,000 devils and Tao Defiants had been crushed by the Infinity Wheel. The wills of the other devils and Tao Defiants completely collapsed when they witnessed this scene, and they fled in all directions. Those experts who were charging towards Dixuan's group hadn't even had the chance to launch an attack when they witnessed the terrifying might of the Infinity Wheel. They were instantly terrified out of their wits, and they turned around and fled towards the distance. A million devil experts in Tao Defiance had actually been instantly crushed and utterly crushed by the Infinity Wheel. The might of the Infinity Wheel was actually so terrifying. What a formidable magic treasure. What a big goblin, Yuan Li. No wonder even the supreme existences of my race paid so much attention to him and asked me to fully cooperate with him in the ninth hell. Di Xuan exclaimed repeatedly with admiration, and his gaze towards Su Fong carried admiration. Chu Bingyan, Qian Gang, and the others had tempestuous waves in their hearts while their eyes were filled with disbelief. It was even to the extent that some of their eyes flickered with greed that couldn't be suppressed no matter what. What are you still waiting for? Su Fong let out a thunderous shout from within the Infinity Wheel. Only now did Di Xuan and the others return to their senses, and they suppressed the shock in their hearts as they flew towards Su Fong. Just as Su Fong was about to put away the Infinity Wheel, the Tao runes of the life shrinking technique and the heavens expansion technique flickered rapidly in the depths of his mind at the same time, indicating that fatal danger was about to arrive. Hurry up and get onto the Infinity Wheel. A supreme sovereign is about to attack. Su Fong's divine light flickered. Di Xuan and the others didn't dare be careless, and they all jumped onto the Infinity Wheel. The Infinity Wheel was extremely small, so it instantly became crowded with 6 more people squeezing onto it. Everyone enter the space within my magic treasure. Di Xuan decisively activated the divine might of the heaven-measuring ruler and swept everyone into the space within the magic treasure. Just as Su Fong was activating the Infinity Wheel, a dark demonic light flashed high up in the sky, and then a monstrous demonic chi instantly covered the sky and enveloped Su Fong and the others. Following it, another extremely powerful and evil aura descended upon the place. Dongsha Masham, evil sovereignty on Du. Su Fongdao was shocked. He didn't expect that these 2 old rivals would attack at the same time. This time, they were in big trouble. Di Xuan's divine light also flickered, but in the next moment his eyes burned with fighting spirit, and he asked in a deep voice, "Great Elder Yuan Li, do you still have the strength to fight? Fight against 2 supreme sovereigns?" Su Fong didn't expect that Di Xuan, who seemed to be a very calm person, was actually so crazy. The goal of this trip is the 9 underworlds. If I want to fight against evil Sovereign Tian Du and Dongsha Mashang, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Let's go. Su Fong activated the Infinity Wheel with all his strength. Infinity Wheel? The legendary supreme time magic treasure has actually reappeared in the myriad worlds. The Infinity Wheel, together with Yuan Li and Di Xuan, is all mine. Dong Xiaomashing's surprised and ecstatic voice came from the sky. While his voice was still echoing in the sky, a palm condensed from demonic chi descended from the sky and landed on the Infinity Wheel. Dongsha, Yuan Li, and Di Xuan are yours, and the Infinity Wheel is mine. Evil Sovereign Tian Du's cold voice suddenly sounded. A large hand as white as a woman's, carrying a terrifying power of life and death, came one after another and bombarded the Infinity Wheel. Evil Sovereign Tian Du and Dongsha Mashang attacked almost at the same time, fighting to suppress Su Fong and the Infinity Wheel. Who knew when the attacks of the 2 supreme sovereigns collided? The demonic chi palm and the large hand shattered at the same time, and the Infinity Wheel appeared in the returning ruins heaven, not far from the periphery of V-City. The Infinity Wheel could control the flow of time, and space had lost its meaning to the Infinity Wheel. Evil Sovereign Tian Du and Dongsha Mashang were extremely powerful, but no matter how fast and shocking their attacks were, they couldn't overlap with the Infinity Wheel at the same time, so they couldn't pose any threat to the Infinity Wheel. Qilin, I'll leave the rest to you. Su Fong and Di Xuan jumped off the Infinity Wheel, and Su Fong immediately released the Qilin. After continuously activating the Infinity Wheel just now, Su Fong's magic power and primordial spirit were greatly consumed, and he was almost exhausted, so he could only leave the Qilin to enter the underworld energy tide. Su Fong had never entered such a vast underworld energy tide, and he didn't know where the underworld energy would take him, so he had to rely on his luck. Not only was the Qilin powerful, but it was also an auspicious beast, so its luck was naturally not as good as other cultivators and the big goblin. Yes, master. The Qilin transformed into a black-robed man and cupped his fists towards Su Fong. After all these years of training, the Qilin might not be loyal, but it had sincerely submitted to Su Fong, which was why Su Fong dared to entrust his life to it. The Qilin opened its mouth and sucked Su Fong and Di Xuan into its stomach space. Then its body flashed and flew towards the underworld energy tide that was receding. If I let you escape from this emperor's hands again, where will this saint's face go? Dong Xiaomasheng broke through the void and pounced towards the Qilin. Under his terrifying aura, the underworld energy tide shook violently, and the Qilin felt that the space around it was shackled, and it was unable to move. Dongsha, don't kill this big goblin. The method of refining the nether sand is still in their treasure space. Evil Sovereign Tian Du's voice came from afar. This saint knows what to do. Dongsha Mashing snorted and was about to shackle the Qilin. Suddenly, a gust of underworld energy burst out from the tide and swept towards Dongsha Mashing with an earth-shattering force. Who is it who can control the underworld energy? Dongsha Mashing was shocked. Facing such a shocking amount of underworld energy, even a demon saint like him didn't dare to be careless. This wasn't the kind of death energy that the demon clan controlled, but the pure Nine Nether Chi from the Nine Netherland, and only the legendary evil existence of the Nine Netherland could control it. Dong Xiaomashing's eyes shot out a ray of demonic light, which quickly turned into a claw and crushed the underworld energy that was sweeping towards it. Chapter 24:18. Dong Xiaomashing hesitated for a moment, but gave up on the idea of pursuing them. Evil Dominator Tian Du snorted. Only someone from profound nether cult can control netherine chi. The one hiding in the tide just now must be the cult leader of profound nether cult. Those human cultivators suddenly changed their plans, and it's most likely because she leaked the information. That cult leader of profound nether cult really deserves to die. How dare she join the Dao Defiance Alliance? The Eastern Demon Saint also flew into a rage out of humiliation. 1,000,000 experts and 2 peerless sovereigns, yet we actually let those human cultivators escape. If news of this gets out, you and I will be laughed at by those sovereigns. The youngest son that you doted on the most, as well as the genius of her demon race, Shui Yan. Both of them died at the hands of that great demon, Yuan Li. Speaking of which, it should be you Eastern Shah, who has lost face. Evil Dominator Tian Du laughed sinisterly and directly poked Dongsha Mashing's sore spot. Terrifying demonic flames surged in Dongsha Mashing's eyes, and the surrounding void seemed to be melting. Everything within 100,000 miles of him was heading toward the returning ruins sky. These matter fragments were instantly reduced to ashes. Even if they escape into the 9 underworlds, they won't be able to escape this saint's pursuit. The 9 underworlds is a land of death, and it happens to be the domain of my death clan. In order to kill that big goblin Yuan Li and obtain the treasures of the 9 underworlds, it's very worthwhile to go to the 9 underworlds. Dongsha Masheng snorted coldly, and then with a flash of demonic light, he disappeared into nothingness. For the nether sand, I have to go to the 9 underworlds anyway. That's the domain of us, Dao Defiance. Let's see where you human cultivators can escape to. Evil Dominator Tian Du also quickly left and prepared to enter the 9 underworlds from another space-time node to continue pursuing Su Fong. The dark clouds covered the sky and the sun. Suddenly, the dark clouds seemed to be boiling. A peerless black lightning swept across the dark clouds, and a figure was violently thrown out of the lightning and fell wildly. Whoosh, a wave of demonic chi condensed into a wave that swept out and stabilized his body. Was it from the returning ruins heaven? In the depths of V, there was a Qilin monster that had been swept over by the tide of Yin energy. The Chila monster was covered in wounds. In some places, bones could even be seen. One of its arms had disappeared. Even a supreme big goblin that was equivalent to a peak-over god was heavily injured. It's really lucky that I didn't die in the tide of underworld Chi. The Chilan monster was frightened and frightened. It flew to the ground shakily and then opened its mouth to spit out Su Fong and Di Xuan from its stomach. Chilan monster, you've done well this time. I will reward you accordingly. Go and recover first. Su Fong kept the Kirin monster into the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda space deep inside his body, and then gave it a few blood crystals that contained the big goblin's life force. Sensing the astonishing life force contained within the blood crystal, the originally gloomy Chilan monster was instantly overjoyed. A drop of blood essence from a great saint of the demonic clan was enough to tempt it. These blood crystals were condensed from the blood essence of a sovereign-level ferocious beast that Su Fong had killed in the Prison Suppression Codex. It was naturally easy for the Kirin monster to recover from its injuries. Even if it could not help it become a great saint of the demonic clan, it could help it reach a higher level. Is this the 9th underworld? Su Fong fixed his eyes on it. The world was dark, filled with a dense and chaotic aura of death. It was like a huge and boundless tomb. Thick black clouds floated in the sky. Occasionally, a bolt of lightning flashed through the black clouds. Only then could one barely see the scenery. The ground was dark and gloomy as well. It was formed from the chi of the underworld. There were mountains, forests, and rivers on the ground, but the mountains were dark. The trees in the forest and the flowing rivers were black, gray, and a strange blood color. There was not a single trace of life in them. The space was filled with the cold aura of death. In this short period of time, Su Fong felt as if his vital spirit and physical body had been frozen stiff. There was no trace of spiritual chi in the world. There was only the aura of death. In this space-time, death was everything. Life and everything related to life were incompatible with this place and could not survive for a long time. In the cold, dead air, black threads that were difficult to see with the naked eye floated. Sensing the aura of life, they swarmed towards Su Fong and Di Xuan. Su Fong was surprised to find that these black threads could ignore his defense and directly penetrate into his body, madly devouring his life aura. Those are some remnant souls that can't be reincarnated. They are scattered in the 9th underworld and condensed from underworld energy. They could devour life aura. Although they're easy to get rid of, they're everywhere and very difficult to deal with. Di Xuan reminded Su Fong. Then he took out a white jade pendant and hung it on his waist. This jade pendant was obviously an extraordinary divine tool. It emitted a divine aura that could isolate life aura. It enveloped Di Xuan, and no more underworld threads floated toward him. Su Fong was about to disperse the underworld threads that had penetrated into his body when the cold voice of the second primordial spirit suddenly sounded in his mind. Main body, these underworld threads are excellent materials for cultivating the immortal soul code. Just like the spiritual chi that cultivators need for cultivation, you can use them to cultivate the immortal soul code. The more the better. I'll leave them all to you. Only then did Su Fong relax. The second primordial spirit's divine aura permeated into the body of the main body and then used the immortal soul code. Very soon, the troublesome underworld threads were completely devoured. Soon, a large amount of underworld threads continuously poured in. They all became materials for the second primordial spirit's cultivation. With the help of these underworld threads, the second primordial spirit's cultivation speed was 10 times faster than normal. This was also Su Fong's first unexpected gain after coming to the netherworld. Seeing the underworld threads continuously penetrating Su Fong's body without any abnormalities, Di Xuan was very surprised. However, he didn't say anything. Instead, he released Chu Bingyan, Qian Gang, Yiling, and the others from the internal space of the heaven-measuring longitude ruler. We've arrived at the netherworld? Chu Bingyan and the others were astonished. Sensing the environment of the netherworld, these experts all had very serious expressions. They weren't relaxed at all. They had clearly come prepared, and each had their own methods to resist the underworld threads. Great Elder Yuan Li, what's the plan next? Dixuan asked Su Fong politely. In the ruins of End Heaven, other than V, after witnessing the shocking divine aura of Su Fong's infinity wheel, not only Dixuan, but everyone was filled with reverence for Su Fong. Even Shi Mian, who had a grudge against Su Fong, completely hid all of his resentment in the bottom of his heart. I planned to, just as Su Fong opened his mouth, his divine aura changed slightly. He looked up at the sky. Whoosh from the thick black clouds. A black rain fell and drifted to the ground. Dixuan raised his eyebrows. It's the soul rain. Once touched, it will erode the primordial spirit. If it's an ordinary deity, their soul will even fall into the cycle of reincarnation. Everyone, be careful. No one dare to be careless. Divine aura poured out of their bodies and condensed into a defensive light screen above their heads. Pa pa pa. The black raindrops hit the defensive light screen and trembled. The light screen quickly thinned. Fortunately, this soul rain came and went quickly. After a rain curtain, everything returned to normal. Everyone was surprised. If the soulfall rain continued for 2 hours, even overgods would have no choice but to focus and deal with it. Although it would not be fatal, it would consume an astonishing amount of energy. It was impossible to absorb spiritual energy in the ninth underworld, so it was only a matter of time before the soulfall rain ran out. Underworld threads, soul rain, these are the most common things in the abyss. They're already very troublesome for us. There's also the more powerful underworld fog, soul-shattering wind, and all kinds of evil existences. Everyone must be careful at all times. If you're not careful, you'll be in danger of losing your life. Dixuan was very patient. He warned the others again. Su Fong said, previously I used a lot of energy to activate the infinity wheel. I must recover as soon as possible. Dixuan, you guys go to the depths of the abyss and look for the Nether River. After he finished speaking, Su Fong rolled out a jade slip and flew it to Dixuan. Dixuan grabbed it and scanned it with his consciousness. He was immediately surprised. He sent a voice transmission. Lord Yuan Li, why is this information different from what the clan gave me? Su Fong sent a voice transmission instead. This information is the latest. So Grand Elder Yuan Li was prepared. It looks like our plan in the abyss has a higher chance of success. Dixuan nodded. Also, be careful of Bai Ziho. Bai Ziho? He's the spy of the Tao Defiance? Dixuan wasn't very surprised. He'd expected that there would be a spy among them. He just hadn't noticed that it was Bai Ziho. We'll keep him alive for now and use him as bait to lure the Tao Defiance. I'm afraid that instead of luring Heavenly Flame over, we'll attract evil Lord Tiandu and Dong Shamasheng. It looks like you also know about the matter of luring Heavenly Flame Divine Lord. Even if evil Lord Tiandu and Dong Shamasheng are attracted, we don't have to be afraid. The key is to protect Master Mo. Dixuan nodded. He took out a green pearl and rolled it to Su Fong. This is the green nether pearl. It's specially prepared for entering the abyss. It can be used to communicate with each other in the abyss. Then, Dixuan led the others into the depths of the abyss. Su Fong found a cave on a barren hill. After entering the cave, he released Gui Gui and sat cross-legged in the cave to recover. Gui Gui had devoured a large amount of nether chi in the small world. In addition, she cultivated the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. Therefore, she didn't feel uncomfortable in the abyss at all. Instead, she was very excited. About 10 days later, buzz. Suddenly, there was a commotion in his body. It produced a very clear buzzing sound. The commotion came from the rune talisman Huang Lingyao gave him, as expected of the successor of the nether divine race. The rune talisman she condensed wasn't affected in the abyss. Huang Lingyao's voice was filled with deathly stillness. Yuan Li, entering the ruins of End? Were you the one who helped V? Thank you. There's no need to thank me. I saved you because I hope you can help me in the abyss. Chapter 24:19. Right now, the Nine Netherland is no longer the land of reincarnation. Although I'm the successor of the divine tribe of Dark Underworld, it's still full of dangers for me. Some places are extremely dangerous, even for supreme emperors, let alone me. So, what's so strange about me asking for help? How do you want me to help you? I already have an extreme, spiritual item called the mysterious Ganoderma, which is very useful to me. However, the place where the mysterious Ganoderma grows is guarded by powerful netherworld monsters. It's difficult for me to kill them alone, so only you can help. I'll do my best, but I'll say this first. If it's beyond my ability, then I can only say sorry. Of course, could it be that this sect master would intentionally send you to your death? You should recover first. This sect master is going to look for some extreme treasures. I will contact you again after a while. You have to be careful and don't lose your life in the Nine Nether. I can't find a suitable helper for the time being. Then Huang Lingyao's voice fell silent. Just when Su Fong thought that Huang Lingyao had gone far away, her voice sounded again. Yuan Li, is your master still in the Yuan Tiangong? Su Fong found that Huang Lingyao's tone was no longer so cold and emotionless, and couldn't help but be surprised. Of course. Could it be that Lord Sect Master wants to see my master? Huang Lingyao snorted coldly, and then her voice didn't sound again. Huang Lingyao would never dream that I'm Su Fong, right? After ending the conversation with Huang Lingyao, Su Fong chuckled. But when he thought of his relationship with Huang Lingyao, he felt a little strange. Su Fong used the Heaven Supervisor token to display its divine power and created a barrier in the cave, isolating the energy that was everywhere. The cold death energy and shackles were weakened by more than half. Then, he used the fiendish demon refinement art to restore his original form. He created a time formation and began to recover the magic power and primordial spirit power he had used to activate the infinity wheel. In the Umbra realm, it was like being in a tomb. Recovery was extremely slow. After spending nearly 3,000 years in the time and time formation, the exhausted Dharma power and origin spirit power slowly recovered to their peak state. Few outside the cave, a gust of wind was howling. The sound of the wind was accompanied by strange sounds that sounded like the cries of ghosts. Su Fong, who was inside the array formation of the cave, felt his essence spirit throbbing when he heard this voice. It made him feel as though his soul was about to shatter. Su Fong was shocked, and a yang spirit flew out of the formation. He took a closer look. A black cloud engulfed the world, and the strange voice came from the black cloud. Underworld fog. Soul-shattering wind? Su Fong's yang spirit was almost frozen and blown away, so he quickly withdrew it back into his body. The ninth underworld is indeed filled with danger at all times. Su Fong quickly strengthened the enchantment again. The soul-shattering wind swept past the hill where Su Fong was. Fortunately, the enchantment condensed by Su Fong with the power of the heavenly Tao order was very strong and did not pose any threat to him. Although it was a close call, Su Fong once again witnessed the horror of the ninth underworld. Papa, the soul-shattering wind had just passed. Outside the cave, he heard something fall to the ground. Damn the ninth underworld. Even a gust of wind is so terrifying. If it weren't for the Dharma treasure that specializes in dealing with the soul-shattering wind, we would have died here. There are more than 100 people in our team. This time, we encountered the soul-shattering wind and the underworld fog. We're lucky to be able to survive. I don't know where this damn soul-shattering wind blew us to. We're in trouble now. What are you afraid of? We have by Ziho's life origin token. No matter where he is, as long as we find him and kill those human cultivators, we'll have made a great contribution. With just the two of us, do you think we can kill those human cultivators? We'll be lucky if we don't get killed by them. Huh? There's a cave here. There's an enchantment. It must be those humans who entered the ninth underworld. After a cry of surprise, boom, 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 the enchantment was attacked violently. You two Tao Defiance, do you want to die? A cold voice came from the cave. Then, a wave of shocking demonic poison seeped out from the inside of the enchantment. Stop. It's a demon, not a human cultivator. The attacks outside the cave stopped. A middle-aged demon walked out of the enchantment. It was Su Fong, who had used the demon shape-shifting technique. Su Fong did not fuse with his body this time. Instead, he transformed into a demon whose cultivation base was only at the peak of the ninth heaven of the Tao integration stage. In the lifeless prairie, Su Fong had suppressed many demon experts. Most of them were devoured by Gui, but some were left behind to use the demon shape-shifting technique. The middle-aged demon expert that Su Fong had transformed into emitted a cold demonic light that swept over the two Tao Defiants outside. One of the two Tao Defiants was a middle-aged, bald man with a ferocious look on his face. He was actually a lesser Lord-level expert. However, he was not a resurrected expert. Instead, he was a bona fide cultivator. Moreover, he had not been modified in any way similar to how the evil dominator of Tiandu had modified cultivators. It was very obvious that he was a cultivator who had sided with the Tao Defiants and had willingly become their puppet. Ever since the various worlds have been isolated by the sky curtain, especially in recent years, more and more human cultivators had sided with the Tao Defiants. This bald man possessed the formidable strength of a lesser Lord-level expert. He was definitely one of the strongest among them. The other young man was a resurrected expert. He wore gray robes, and his body emanated the aura of life. However, his aura of life also contained a faint aura of death. This Tao Defiance cultivation base was extraordinary as well. He had reached the ninth heaven of the Tao integration stage. They had just escaped from the underworld fog. Although they did not seem to be injured, their auras were dispirited and weak. Clearly, their primordial spirits had been damaged by the soul-shattering wind in the underworld fog. So you're from the Tao Defiance Alliance as well. The two Tao Defiants heaved sighs of relief. However, they were still extremely vigilant. Su Fong asked coldly, "You're looking for those human cultivators as well?" "That's right. It looks like you've come to the ninth hell on the orders of the Dongshao Masheng to search for that big goblin." "Yuan Li?" The bald man smiled. Then, he extended an invitation to Su Fong. "We encountered that damnable underworld fog and soul-shattering wind and got separated from our companions. Why don't we work together to search for those human cultivators?" Su Fong revealed a thoughtful expression. "Work together?" The young Tao Defiant secretly transmitted his voice to the bald man. "Why do you want to work together with this demon?" The bald man replied, "We're quite injured right now. If we have a cannon fodder on our way, wouldn't it be much easier no matter what treasures or underworld monsters we encounter?" He's only at the ninth heaven of the Tao integration stage. Once we recover from our injuries, he'll be a lamb at our mercy. We can do whatever we want with him then. The young Tao Defiant laughed coldly in his heart. "You humans really are cunning." Su Fong discerned the bald man's intentions, and he laughed coldly in his heart before he asked, "What's in it for me to work together with the two of you?" The bald man said, "The ninth hell is extremely dangerous, so it's naturally much safer for us to work together. Moreover, there are treasures that contain the essence of extreme everywhere in the ninth hell. You wouldn't intend to return empty-handed after taking such a risk to come to the ninth hell, right? Treasures?" A devilish glow flashed through Su Fong's eyes, and he seemed to be rather tempted. The young man persuaded, "I've made a lot of preparations before coming to the ninth hell, and I've especially borrowed a treasure called the tranquil pearl. So long as there's a treasure that contains the essence of extreme within an area of 5,000 kilometers, then the tranquil pearl will be able to sense it. Thus, searching for treasures is extremely easy. If you're willing to work together with me, then I'll give you a share of the treasures we find. I've been separated from my companions as well, so it's just right for us to travel together." Su Fong didn't hesitate any longer and readily agreed. The bald man and the young man were instantly overjoyed. The young Tao Defiant withdrew a dark disk, and then it emanated a strand of ethereal divine might that vanished into the heavens and the earth after he activated it. After a short moment, the disk droned, and then a red dot lit up on it. The young man said with great joy, "Bai Ziho's mark is over 500,000 kilometers to the left. Bai Ziho really deserves death." A strand of fierce energy surged in Su Fong's heart. Thus, This strange combination of a devil, a cultivator, and a Tao defiant swiftly rushed towards the mark the black disk had sensed. The shackles in the ninth hell were shocking, and the energy they consumed had to be replenished by absorbing spirit energy. So, cultivators were only barely able to fly. Moreover, they couldn't fly too high because black lightning and soulfall rain might descend at any moment from the black clouds in the sky, and there were also the monsters of the netherworld hidden within the black clouds. Resurrected experts had always been resurrected by the evil and baleful energy of death, so they weren't really affected by the ninth hell. So, the young Tao Defiant seemed to be very relaxed. Even though the devil race called themselves the death race, only the formidable experts of the devil race were truly capable of absorbing the aura of death. At this moment, even the devil that Su Fong had transformed into didn't dare absorb the aura of death. Coupled with the fact that he'd intentionally concealed his strength, it seemed to be quite strenuous for him. The bald man who'd sided with the Tao Defiant possessed formidable strength. Moreover, he wore a black, treasured robe that was refined from an unknown material, and it emanated protective divine might that prevented him from being harmed by the netherine energy and netherine threads. So, he seemed to be in an extremely relaxed state. All along the way, they didn't find any treasures, but they encountered countless dangers instead. Besides the netherine threads that were everywhere, the soulfall rain that descended from time to time, the nether mist and soul shatter gales that swept over from time to time, there were also some evil existences that Su Fong had never seen before. When they passed through a completely ordinary plane, an enormous bone claw suddenly stretched out from the ground and almost grabbed the young Tao Defiant. Fortunately, the bald man's reaction was extremely swift. He tossed out a nether lightning pearl to blast the bone claw back, and he seized the opportunity to escape. They passed through a gorge that surged with dense mist. Chapter 2420. Because the Tao of Samsara was in chaos, the souls of living beings couldn't be reincarnated, so they were constantly devouring nether energy and other souls in the ninth underworld. They were formed from nether souls that were similar to essence souls. Apart from lightning techniques, fire techniques, and some special forbidden arts that could restrain the nether souls, no other divine abilities could kill them. Moreover, there were so many of them that it was impossible to kill them all. They were much more difficult to deal with than nether threads and soulfall rain. Su Fong, the bald middle-aged man, and the young Tao Defiant were surrounded by the nether souls and were unable to escape. In the end, the bald middle-aged Tao Defiant endured the pain in his heart and withdrew a lightning talisman, and it erupted with a shocking bolt of lightning that blasted apart the dense mist. Most of the nether souls were transformed into nothingness amidst the glow of lightning, and they were finally able to escape. True body, actually, those nether souls are excellent materials for cultivating the undying soul scripture. Su Fong's essence, soul, suddenly spoke in Su Fong's mind. Such nether souls are everywhere in the ninth underworld. We'll talk about them in the future. Unfortunately, I don't have a treasure that specializes in absorbing nether souls. Otherwise, it wouldn't be bad to capture more nether souls to cultivate my essence soul. Why didn't you kill the two of them? I still want to use them to find the other Tao Defiants. It's best if I can find Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. He's still useful for now. So Su Fong had joined forces with the two Tao Defiants for such a reason. About 3 months later, a commotion came from a young Tao Defiant's body as he produced a fist-sized jet black pearl. The pearl was constantly trembling as black shadows surged madly within it. It seemed like countless monsters were hidden within it. The steadying pearl is moving. It's not far away. There should be a treasure that contains the essence of extreme Een. The young man was pleasantly surprised. He used the steadying pearl's senses to swiftly fly to the right. The bald middle-aged man followed closely behind. There really is a treasure. Since I've encountered it, I won't hold back. Su Fong chuckled inwardly. He had come to the ninth underworld for Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord's Violet Cloud, Dharma Spirit, Nether Sand, and ninth underworld embryo stone. However, he naturally wouldn't hold back now that he could obtain the treasures along the way. After flying for more than 5,000 kilometers, he arrived at a desolate and deathly silent mountain range. The een-fixing pearl flickered even more fiercely, indicating that the treasure that contained the essence of extreme een was nearby. Su Fong used his great perfection ability, and after sensing for a while, his gaze finally fell on the peak of a large mountain. The top of the mountain was bare, except for a black pool that was about 10 feet in size. That's Nether Spring. That's right, it's the Nether Spring. Before entering the ninth underworld, the evil Lord Tiandu had asked us to look for several kinds of een treasures, and the Nether Spring was one of them. The young Tao Defiant and the bald Tao Defiant noticed the pool at the peak of the mountain as well, and they couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Nether Spring? In the information about the Nine Netherland that Huang Lingyao gave Su Fong, there was also information about many extreme een treasures. She asked Su Fong to find them and give them to her. She would use other spiritual items and resources to exchange with Su Fong. The Nether Spring was a treasure that Huang Lingyao was looking for. Actually, it was a type of nether water that was condensed from pure nether energy. It was a type of extreme een and cold spirit water, and it was the best material to cleanse the soul of magic treasures. It surpassed all spirit water that could cleanse the soul. Huang Lingyao, the Tao Defiance, and the Tao Defiance could utilize the Nether Spring to cleanse their bodies as well. The bald Tao Defiant stretched out his hand and grabbed, and then a strand of divine might rumbled as it descended onto the peak of the mountain, causing the Nether Spring within the pool to be swept up into the air. Unexpectedly, swish, a black line shot out from the Nether Spring that was swept up into the air. It turned out that there was actually a black snake hidden within the Nether Spring. It was only 3 m long, but it had 2 pairs of wings. The black snake opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of venom, and then a strand of black chi swiftly swept out from the bald Tao Defiance divine might. Hiss! Hiss! The ethereal divine might and aura were actually corroded by the black snake's venom and transformed into nothingness. It wasn't just that. The black chi swiftly swept towards the bald Tao Defiant at a shocking speed, and it actually followed along his aura and pounced directly at his body. What terrifying venom! The expression on the bald Tao Defiant's face instantly changed. What sort of inconceivable venom was it that could even corrode the attacks of an over-god realm expert? Su Fong suddenly attacked from the side, and he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of devilish blood. The devilish blood surged and swiftly transformed into an enormous blood python that pounced directly at the black snake. The black snake flapped its wings hastily, and it was about to flee when the blood python suddenly opened its mouth and sucked. Blood chi coiled and surged within the blood python's mouth, and it erupted with shocking devouring might as it forcefully sucked the black snake into its stomach. After that, the blood python flew back, circled around Su Fong, and then was absorbed into Su Fong's body through his palm. The blood python was Gui's transformation. Even though the black snake's venom was terrifying, it was lethal to even over-god realm experts, so it was Gui's delicacy. The bald middle-aged man and the young Tao Defiant gazed at Su Fong with eyes filled with fear. They'd originally intended to treat Su Fong as cannon fodder, but at this moment, they started to have doubts in their hearts. The bald Tao Defiant, the young man, and Su Fong each received a portion of the Nether Spring water. Su Fong stored it within a bottle treasure that was specially used to store Nether Spring water, and then he sealed it up. Over 100 years passed. Su Fong, the bald middle-aged man, and the young Tao Defiant headed towards the depths of the ninth hell. All along the way, Su Fong was able to sense any movement within an area of around 50,000 kilometers by relying on the abilities of a paragon in the ninth hell that was filled with shocking shackles. It far surpassed the bald middle-aged man, and it was even inferior to the senses of an upper-rank overgod. In this way, Su Fong was able to grasp any threats or monsters of the underworld at the first possible moment, and he avoided danger after danger in advance. The bald middle-aged man and the young man became even more fearful of Su Fong. However, they'd encountered a huge danger as well. When they passed through an area of black mist that covered an area of almost 50,000 kilometers, the life-shrinking techniques, Tao insight runes, and heaven flow inscriptions suddenly stirred when they entered the black mist. Only then did Su Fong notice that a monster of the underworld the size of a mountain was actually hiding within the black mist, and the black mist that blotted out the sky was merely the aura of the underworld that it breathed. Fortunately, the monster was still in a deep slumber, and that was why they were able to pass through safely. Otherwise, Su Fong would have no choice but to utilize his trump card to escape. All along the way, they'd killed many monsters and souls of the underworld, and they'd obtained many treasures as well. It could be said that they'd gained a great deal. Unfortunately, the Skyfire Divine Lord that Su Fong had been anticipating hadn't appeared, and no Tao Defiant had contacted the bald middle-aged man. Instead, they were growing closer and closer to Dixuan and the others. The bald middle-aged man and the young Tao Defiant possessed by Ziho's life source token, coupled with the hidden marks that Bai Ziho had left behind all along the way. It wasn't strange for them to catch up to them. They passed through a gray mountain range. The young Tao Defiant suggested, "We've expended quite a bit of energy all along the way. Why don't we find a place to recover?" There was only the aura of death in the Umbra, so they could only consume pills to replenish their energy. The bald middle-aged man naturally didn't object, and Su Fong didn't object as well. They found a cavern at random, and then the bald middle-aged Tao Defiant utilized a formation to seal up the entrance of the cavern. Try the pills refined by the Tao Defiant Pill Refinement Master. The young man withdrew a pill and gave it to the bald middle-aged man before giving one to Su Fong as well. A heaven-defying pill. The bald middle-aged man was overjoyed, and he opened his mouth and swallowed the pill. Su Fong grabbed the pill and took a look. The green pill contained a shocking aura of vitality, and it was actually on par with the Creation Saint pill. Su Fong hesitated for a moment before he said, "The devil race can consume the pills of you Tao Defiance?" The young Tao Defiant grunted. "Even cultivators can consume heaven-defying pills, so why can't devils?" The heaven-defying pill is a heaven-defying pill that only the true experts amongst the Tao Defiants possess. The evil exalt of heavenly capital only bestowed a few upon us after we entered the ninth hell. I only gave one to you because you've exerted quite a bit of effort all along the way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be willing to give it to you. Su Fong didn't hesitate any longer, and he opened his mouth and swallowed the pill. The pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth, and it transformed into a strand of pure vitality that swiftly swept towards his body. Unexpectedly, this state merely lasted for a moment before the medicinal strength that had fused into his body suddenly transformed into a terrifying aura of death, and the vitality that had been stimulated was actually violently devoured by the medicinal strength. Su Fongdao roared furiously, "This pill is poisonous." The young Tao Defiant chuckled. "Poisonous? You've underestimated the life-defying pill." "The life-defying pill? Not the heaven-defying pill?" The bald middle-aged man laughed ferociously. "The pill I consumed just now was the heaven-defying pill, and it's a great tonic for us Tao Defiants. On the other hand, the life-defying pill you consumed was specially used by the Tao Defiants to deal with human cultivators, devils, and big goblin. So long as you consume it, the vitality within your body will be reversed by the medicinal strength of the pill, and your entire body will transform into a pill and become a cultivation resource for the Tao Defiants." Su Fong trembled and gritted his teeth as he asked, "Why are all of you doing this?" The young man said coldly, "You've been given so many treasures all along the way. Moreover, you've definitely been given precious treasures by the Dongshao Ma Sheng since you've come to the ninth hell. Coupled with your extraordinary body, it might be able to help me advance a level if it's refined into a pill. There are so many reasons. Is that enough?" The bald middle-aged man continued, "The main reason is that we don't need you now. I just received a voice transmission that the evil exalt will be here soon. So what's the point of keeping you? It's better to refine you into a pill and get a share of your treasures." The young man shouted, "Cut the crap. Quickly contact that kid by Ziho and ask him to come over. When the evil exalt arrives, we'll have to interrogate him before we can make a move on those human cultivators." The bald, middle-aged man immediately took out a life card and transmitted a voice transmission to Bai Ziho through his soul. QL11, the young man stood up and walked towards Su Fong. He was waiting for Su Fong's vitality to be sucked dry, and then he would use a forbidden technique to refine him into a pill. Su Fong's aura became even weaker, and he asked with a trembling voice, "Evil Exalt Tiandu and Master Heavenly Flame are together?" The young man sneered. "Master Heavenly Flame is such an important figure, so of course he's with the Evil Exalt." "How do you know this? You're about to die, so why are you asking so many questions?" Chapter 24-21. The reversal pill was extremely formidable. It could devour the aura of life, transform it into death energy, and then be refined into medicinal pills. However, since Su Fong dared to devour the young Dao Defiance medicinal pill, he was naturally prepared. At the same time that he devoured the medicinal pill, Su Fong had silently seeped his pure Yang Divine might into his flesh and blood. As soon as the medicinal strength of the reversal pill erupted, it was suppressed by the pure Yang Divine might. Even though it couldn't suppress it for now, it wasn't enough to kill him. "You," the young Dao Defiant turned pale with fright. As far as he was concerned, no matter if it was a human cultivator, the big goblin, or the devil race, so long as it was a living being, then no one would be able to survive after devouring the reversal pill. However, Su Fong was actually completely unharmed. A lamb that was about to be slaughtered had suddenly transformed into a ferocious tiger that bared its fangs, and it caused the young Dao Defiant to instantly panic. In an instant, as soon as Su Fong's icy cold and indifferent voice resounded, his body underwent a shocking transformation, and he took the form of a human cultivator. Moreover, his devilish energy instantly transformed into the divine might of the world of yin and yang, and it surged out from his body and instantly enveloped the entire cave. The young Dao Defiant and the bald middle-aged man were caught off guard, and they were shackled by Su Fong's world. A human cultivator. How could a human cultivator possibly transform into a member of the devil race? This scene had completely overturned the Dao Defiant and the bald Dao Defiant's understanding. They were terrified. A strand of shocking divine might rumble down upon the young Dao Defiant. The young man was only at the 9th level of the Dao integration realm, so how could he resist the energy of a universe? The young Dao Defiant was blasted into pieces by the divine might that erupted like a thunderclap. The bald middle-aged man really lived up to his reputation as a lesser overgod. Earth element divine might shot out from within his body and into Su Fong's world. The image of a group of mountains appeared, and it was about to transform into reality and form a real world with the intention of breaking through Su Fong's world. However, Su Fong's world was a universe of its own, and it surpassed the world of overgod realm experts. At this moment, the bald middle-aged man was enveloped within his universe. So, not to mention shattering Su Fong's world, the image of mountains didn't even have the time to form a world before it shattered into pieces under the pressure of Su Fong's world. Chains condensed from the power of the yin and yang worlds flew out from the void and intertwined with each other. Those chains coiled around the bald middle-aged man and shackled him tightly. Moreover, Su Fong's buys by how possessed the white by Chen's buys by Bai and Bai. This was because Su Fong was afraid of alerting Bai Ziho and didn't want to cause too much of a commotion. That was why he used the world god aura. Otherwise, Su Fong had many ways to suppress them. Su Fong Wei shouted coldly, "You are a human cultivator, yet you are willing to submit to the resurrected experts and become their puppet. You deserve to die." "I deserve to die." The bald middle-aged man roared furiously with displeasure. "We've been isolated by the sky barrier, and that's equivalent to being abandoned. We've lost all support. What else can we do besides side with the powerful Dao Defiance and devils?" Su Fong fell silent for a moment, and then he said coldly, It really is unfair for all of you to be isolated on the other side of the river of two realms. However, that's absolutely not a reason for you to defy the Tao Defiance. I, Su Fong, have encountered more injustice than anyone else in my entire life. I'll ceaselessly fight against it, but I'll absolutely not give up. Su Fong, you're the #1 genius of the human race. Su Fong? The bald middle-aged man was very shocked. Su Fong's name was known to almost everyone in the universe. The bald middle-aged man was a peerless master god, so he naturally knew about Su Fong. Then he laughed maniacally. Lord Evil Dominator Tiandu has already arrived at the 9 underworlds, and he'll be here soon. You'll definitely not be able to escape his suppression. I can die without regrets at the hands of Su Fong, and the #1 genius of the human race, Su Fong, will die because of me. I've profited greatly. Haha. Su Fong looked at the Tao Defiant with pity in his eyes. Not only will I not die, but I'll also use you and Bai Ziho as bait to kill Evil Dominator Tiandu and capture Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. You? You actually want to kill Lord Evil Dominator? You're only at the Tao Integration Realm. It's already heaven-defying for you to shackle me. You still want to kill Evil Dominator Tiandu? The bald Tao Defiant looked at Su Fong as if he was looking at a lunatic. Why am I talking so much nonsense with you? You won't be able to see my second primordial spirit anyway. The black mark that Su Fong's second primordial spirit resided in turned into a black Xian Guang and shot out. It hit the bald Tao Defiant's head with a bang, and a wave of void trembled. It forcefully and domineeringly shattered the Divine Aperture's defense and entered the bald Tao Defiant's Divine Aperture. The bald Tao Defiant's expression changed incessantly while he struggled with pain. In less than the time for an incense stick to burn, he stopped struggling, and then he spoke in an icy, cold voice. This exalt has already seized his soul core. Why didn't I just kill him? Wouldn't that be more straightforward? This person's strength is not bad, but it's impossible to subdue him. I can only control him with Night Demon's divine ability. This way, I'll have another good puppet expert. I can also devour his heart and absorb his life essence to improve the strength of my primordial spirit. For an overgod with extraordinary strength to end up like this, he only has himself to blame. Jian Chun sighed. Su Fong sighed, and then he fell into silence. The guardian of the mountain had isolated the myriad of worlds. Countless divine worlds and countless gods had fallen into the control of the revived experts, devil race, and other evil forces. There were only 2 outcomes for these people. They could either be devoured or surrender and become puppets of the Tao Defiance. If I don't possess sufficient strength, then I'll be abandoned by the Yuan Tiangong, just like these Tao Defiants, and become a puppet at the mercy of others. There's less than 100,000 years left. No matter if I succeed or fail, I won't be able to escape the suppression of the supreme existences of the imperial people. At that time, I might suffer an even more miserable fate than these Tao Defiants. Strength, no matter when it is, strength is the king. No matter what, I'll take my fate into my own hands and absolutely won't suffer the same fate as these Tao Defiants. A resolute expression flashed through Su Fong's eyes, while a shapeless, imposing aura of defiance rumbled out from him. After around 6 hours of waiting in the cave, Su Fong, who was seated cross-legged on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes. Bai Ziho, you really have come. The bald middle-aged man who sat cross-legged by Su Fong's side withdrew Su Fong from his palm. A short while later, Bai Ziho's voice resounded from outside the barrier. Open the barrier right now. The bald middle-aged man formed a seal, and the barrier automatically opened up to form a door before Bai Ziho's figure flashed in. At this moment, the smile on Bai Ziho's face had vanished without a trace, and it was replaced by a gloomy and domineering expression. Divine light swept through the cave as he shouted in a domineering manner. Why is it only you, the Tao Defiant puppet? Wasn't there another Lord Tao Defiant? When will the Lord Evil Exalt arrive? The bald middle-aged man glanced indifferently at Bai Ziho and said, Are you a Tao Defiant? Or a Tao Defiant cultivator? Bai Ziho looked down at the bald, middle-aged man with disdain. Humph. Although I'm a Tao defiant like you, the Lord Evil Exalt personally promised that as long as I complete this mission and capture the big goblin, Yuan Li, Mo Tiangong, and Di Xuan, he'll take me as his disciple. How can I be the same as a puppet like you? You'll be the same soon. The bald, middle-aged man chuckled like a ferocious beast that had suddenly bared its fangs. Bai Ziho instantly became vigilant. Who would have thought that at this moment, a black, profound light would shoot out from the back of his head? The illusory, yet incomparably powerful divine might of the primordial spirit crushed his divine aperture's defenses like Mount Tai. It was as if it could kill its way into his divine aperture without any obstruction. Since Bai Ziho could be listed on the merit list of the Sky Beacon God world, his strength was naturally extraordinary. He was far stronger than the bald middle-aged man. However, facing the second origin spirit that could fight against the origin spirit of an Emperor Realm expert, he could only be crushed and devoured. He only lasted for half an hour longer than the bald middle-aged man before his origin spirit was devoured by the second origin spirit using the Charm God Soul absorbing seal. Then, the second origin spirit condensed a black imprint and separated a wisp of origin spirit consciousness to reside in his divine aperture. Just like the bald middle-aged man, it became a puppet controlled by Su Fong. Buzz. As soon as Su Fong came out of the bald middle-aged man's body, a commotion came from the depths of his body. QL11, it was the green nether pearl that Di Xuan had given to Su Fong. It was specially used for communication in the 9 underworlds. Di Xuan's voice came from the green nether pearl. Great Elder Yuanli, you're nearby? Yes. Have you found any nether sand? All these years we've been in the material plane on the surface of the 9 underworlds, but we haven't found the entrance to the deeper planes. The 9 underworlds is too big. Bai Ziho has just left, so the experts of the Tao Defying Union, or even Evil Dominator Tian Du and Dong Xiaomashing might be coming soon. Great Elder Yuan Li, you must be extra careful. Bai Ziho. Bai Ziho has been suppressed by this senior. This senior wants to use him as bait to capture the heavenly flames. If possible, I want to kill Evil Dominator Tian Du. Kill Evil Dominator Tian Du. Di Xuan was also shocked by Su Fong's bold plan. Great Elder Yuan Li, are you confident? Do you need our help? I'm about 50% confident. Even if I fail, it doesn't matter. Don't forget, this senior has the Universe River Chariot. I don't need your help. You should continue to search for nether sand. Great Elder Yuan Li, you must be careful. Next, Chu Bingyan, Qian Gang, Eli, and Qi Mian will split up and search. Once we have any news, we'll contact Great Elder Yuan Li. After ending the conversation with Di Xuan, Su Fong thought for a moment. Then, he put Bai Ziho and the bald old man into his inner world and quickly left the cave. After taking out the Universe River Chariot and activating it, Su Fong arrived outside the black fog that covered an area of 100,000 li in a flash. Then, Su Fong put away the Universe River Chariot and used the demon transformation art again to turn into the big goblin Yuan Li. At the same time, he used the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking art to conceal his presence. Then, he carefully flew into the depths of the black fog. Chapter 24-22. Su Fong carefully went deep into the black mist. Since he wanted to use the nether monster in the black mist to deal with Evil Dominator Tian Du, Su Fong naturally wanted to know what kind of nether monster it was. He wanted to know if it had the strength to kill Evil Dominator Tian Du. After 3 days, Su Fong finally flew out of the black mist. I wonder what kind of nether monster it is. Seems like it won't be a problem to use it to entertain Evil Dominator Tian Du. Su Fong's eyes were filled with fear. Even the nether monster seemed to be frightened. After flying far away, he let Bai Ziho out and sent a thought to him, ordering him to send a message to Evil Dominator Tian Du. Lord Evil Dominator, Big Goblin Yuan Li and Di Xuan have killed 2 of your subordinates. They are preparing to escape. Bai Ziho took out a talisman that emitted a strong aura of death. He sent a message to Evil Dominator Tian Du. After a while, Evil Dominator Tian Du's voice came from the talisman. Try to stall them first. My main body will be there soon. Ziho anxiously said, Lord Evil Dominator, be quick. They seem to have discovered this little one. Ah, Yuanli, how dare you kill me? Su Fong suddenly released a 9 suns divine fire, enveloping the talisman and burning it to ashes. Then Su Fong kept Ziho into his inner world and used his great perfection realm ability. Together with the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique, he sent out his sensing force. About 2 hours later, from the left, Su Fong sensed a familiar aura flying towards him at an astonishing speed. It was Evil Dominator Tian Du. In the 9 underworlds, Evil Dominator Tian Du was shackled and could only fly. However, his flying speed was as fast as lightning. It would take him at most a dozen breaths to reach here. Evil Dominator Tian Du, you really came? You will be the first Emperor Venerable Expert I kill. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. Wong. Following that, the Destiny Dao text from the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique flickered rapidly and finally turned into the image of Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord is indeed with Evil Dominator Tian Du. QL11 Su Fong was overjoyed. His eyes lit up. As long as he captured Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, he would get his purple Qi Law Spirit. At that time, what kind of transformation would Su Fong's purple Qi Law Spirit undergo? How shocking would his karmic luck reach? Whoosh, demonic Qi gushed out from Su Fong's body and flew towards Tian Du Evil Dominator. About 10 breaths. Evil Dominator Tian Du's great perfection realm ability was due. Evil Dominator Tian Du. To escape, to die to escape to be Dao, is to die of to the Tian to heaven. To me, Evil Dominator Tian Du's cold voice came from behind. While his voice was still echoing, he was already half the distance between him and Su Fong. Su Fong gritted his teeth and took out the evil god flag. He burned his demon Qi and his speed doubled. You won't be in the returning ruins heaven this time? Since you're so lucky, just surrender obediently. Seeing that you've given me the Infinity Wheel, a supreme divine creation artifact, this venerable will let you die a quick death. Evil Dominator Tian Du's voice was filled with evil and greed. A divine aura descended and shrouded the space within 100,000 li radius. Just as Evil Dominator Tian Du's divine aura was about to materialize into a world, Su Fong waved the evil god flag in his hand. Nearly 100,000 resurrected experts swept out along with a monstrous aura of death. Boom! Boom! The 100,000 resurrected experts exploded, creating a shocking impact that broke a hole in Evil Dominator Tian Du's divine aura. Su Fong used the divine armed spirit monkey's movement technique. He burned his demon Qi again and flew out of the hole. Then he waved his hand and hundreds of runes rolled out. When all of them were activated, an earth-shattering explosion occurred. The black clouds in the sky rolled wildly, and the underworld Qi in the space also shook violently. Taking advantage of this moment to catch his breath, Su Fong flew like a meteor into the black clouds. So, Evil Dominator Tian Du arrived in an instant, but he stopped outside the black clouds. What a dense underworld Qi. There is a powerful nether monster hibernating here. As expected of the supreme Evil Dominator, who was comparable to an Emperor Realm expert, he could see that there was a powerful nether monster hiding in the black clouds. This made Evil Dominator Tian Du wary. Then Evil Dominator Tian Du released his sensing ability, but he could not see what was hiding in the depths of the black clouds. This big goblin Yuanli, is he planning to use this nether monster to deal with me? Evil Dominator Tian Du felt that something was amiss and hesitated. Lord Evil Dominator, did you catch that MO Tiangong? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord rushed over under the protection of a dozen Dao Defiants. Evil Dominator Tian Du shook his head and said, the big goblin Yuan Li entered the black clouds and did not see any other human cultivators. I suspect that this is a trap set by Yuan Li. A trap? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord snorted. How can a mere big goblin be so intelligent? Evil Dominator Tion Du's eyes flashed coldly. This demon killed Dongsha Moshing's clone and stole my evil god flag. And he is in the returning ruins, heaven? He broke through the encirclement of 1,000,000 experts and escaped from me and Dongsha Moshing. How dare you look down on him? Are you mocking me? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord trembled and said, I dare not. Evil Dominator Tion Du snorted. The big goblin Yuan Li and those human cultivators are not difficult to catch. If you can get the secret technique to make nether sand from that human treasure refiner and you cannot fuse it into the saint artifact, don't blame me for being ruthless. I will do my best. Evil Dominator Tion Du continued. Why haven't you cultivated the descendant life reversal scripture that the Alliance Master gave you? Do you still have some fantasies about human cultivators? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord quickly knelt down. The descendant life reversal scripture is the supreme great Tao that the supreme evil God gave to all living beings. After cultivating it, one can live forever. Which cultivator would not want it? But I cultivate the heavenly fire Tao. If I go against the Tao, I will not be able to use the saint artifact. I think you still want to go back to Yuan Tiangong. Evil Dominator Tion Du sneered, which made Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's hair stand on end. Descendant Life Reversal Scripture. It was the supreme evil god's great Tao scripture that the Tao Defiance cultivated. It was taught by the evil god's will to the Alliance Master of the Tao Defiance. It was regarded as a sacred scripture by the Tao Defiance. Only the higher-ups of the Tao Defiance could cultivate it. The other Tao Defiance could only cultivate a little. When human cultivators cultivated the Descendant Life Reversal Scripture, they could absorb the power of evil Yang to quickly increase their cultivation. But from then on, they would completely betray the heavenly Tao and become a Tao Defiant. And after cultivating the Descendant Life Reversal Scripture, they would be controlled by the will of the evil God. Although they would still have self-awareness, they would be no different from a puppet controlled by someone. Su Fong entered the black cloud and waited for several hours, but Evil Dominator Tion Du did not come after him. Evil Dominator Tion Du is so cunning. He did not fall for it. This is going to be troublesome. Su Fong frowned. Looks like I have to take a risk. After thinking for a while, Su Fong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He released his demonic chi and rushed into the depths of the black cloud. On the ground, there was a mountain that was hundreds of meters tall. The terrifying black cloud that covered hundreds of thousands of miles was spurting out from a cave in the mountain. After sensing it carefully, he realized that it was not a mountain. It was a huge head covered in white hair. There were black horns that looked like cow horns on its head. 2 blood-red fangs were half exposed. Its face was ferocious and terrifying. It was 10 times uglier than the devil race. Su Fong could not sense any life from this monster. It was pure nether chi. Clearly, it was a nether monster that was born from the nether chi. As if it sensed Su Fong's demonic chi, the head opened its eyes slightly, revealing gray pupils. But a thick black cloud came out of its nostrils. Then the eyes slowly closed. Clearly, this nether monster treated Su Fong as an ant. It did not care about him at all. Su Fong waved his hand and shot out hundreds of rune talismans. All of them were extremely powerful. Among them, there were even a few thunder rune talismans. After Su Fong detonated them, they caused an earth-shaking explosion and shook the thick black clouds violently. At the moment when the talismans were detonated, Su Fong immediately used the life-shrinking technique. He concealed his aura and flew out of the black cloud. Evil Dominator Tion Du sensed the commotion inside the black cloud. He frowned. Damn it, that big goblin Yuan Li is attacking that nether monster. Is he not afraid of death? Roar. An earth-shaking roar came from the black cloud. The black cloud that covered hundreds of thousands of miles disappeared in an instant. The sound waves swept out in all directions. It also contained a terrifying primordial spirit divine power. The impact caused Evil Dominator Tion Du to stagger. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and the other Tao Defiants could not control their bodies. They were swept far away like straws in the wind. On the dark ground, the ugly and huge had appeared. Dark Art, evil dominator Tian, Du's expression changed. Legend has it that the Dark Guard was a powerful nether monster that guarded the reincarnation Tao. Although it was weaker than the legendary Dark Dominator in the Nine Nether, a Dark Guard could kill an Emperor Realm expert. Where did Big Goblin Yuanli go? Did the Dark Guard devour him? Evil Dominator Tian Du was not surprised when he did not see Su Fong. The Dark Guard also did not notice Su Fong. When he saw evil Dominator Tian Du, who was hundreds of thousands of miles away, he found a place to vent his anger. After another roar, a black cloud appeared above evil Dominator Tian Du. It quickly condensed into a huge head. It opened its mouth and bit at evil Dominator Tian Du. It felt like it was going to swallow the entire Nine Nether. That damn Big Goblin Yuanli. You better not die. Otherwise, I will make you regret being born. Evil Dominator Tian Du's eyes were burning with flames. He had no choice but to engage in an earth-shattering battle with the Dark Guard. You two can fight slowly. It is best if both of you are injured. I have no time to accompany you. It is time to capture Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord. Chapter 24-23. Su Fong only stopped when he was about 5,000 kilometers away from Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord and the Tao Defiants. Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord and the Tao Defiants were focused on the battle between evil Dominator Tiandu and Netherguard. They did not notice that a fatal threat had arrived. Those Tao Defiants are all experts. One of them is comparable to a peak overgod, while the others are superior in middle rank overgods. Defeating them is easy, but capturing Heavenly Fire Divine Lord alive will be difficult. After some thought, Su Fong immediately released by Ziho and the bald middle-aged man. Go over there and try to approach Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and attract their attention. Yes, Bai Ziho and the bald Tao Defiant were obedient slaves. They would not frown even if Su Fong ordered them to die. They immediately flew towards Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Then, Su Fong released Sky Gazing, Shui 7 Z Dijung, Pai Shu ZD, Xiao Yaoing Dagger, ZD. When they first entered the 9 underworlds, the Kirin had sustained serious injuries. But after devouring the blood crystals in the black-yellow 6 Daos Pagoda over the years, not only had it recovered to its peak state, it had even improved significantly. Thus, it was only natural for it to be completely loyal to Su Fong. Qilin Fiend and Sky Gazing, Jianxiang Rongyimimu, come here. Yu Yixian Fuhiyu, Yu Yixian, Yu Yixing Yu Kaotao Yu Yixian. After some thought, Su Fong released Shroud's clone. Shroud's clone was a puppet that Su Fong had replicated with the primordial chaos sacred mirror using the 4 symbols transformation. It did not have any self-awareness and was like a living dead. It exuded a cold aura of death. As soon as he was released by Su Fong, his originally lifeless eyes actually lit up. His entire aura seemed to have fused with the 9 serenities, becoming even more ethereal, as if he was born to belong to this world. Nether is indeed a transcendent realm master. He was once the supreme ruler of the 10 Netherlands. Just a clone of the Origin Sacred Mirror has the strength of an Emperor Realm Master. His strength will definitely become even stronger in the 9 Netherlands, but we still need to find the 9 Nether Embryo Stone as soon as possible. Su Fong was shocked when he sensed the aura of Shroud's clone. Then, Su Fong transmitted a thought to Netherworld's clone, ordering it to blend into the void, guarding against evil Dominator Tian Du and Netherguard who might come at any time. After making thorough preparations, Su Fong leisurely flew towards Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and the Tao Defiants were paying full attention to the battle between evil Dominator Tiandu and Netherguard. Coupled with the suppression of their sensory abilities in the 9th underworld, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord only noticed by Ziho and the bald Tao Defiant when they were nearly 500 kilometers away. Weren't you killed by the Big Goblin Yuanli? And you, by Ziho, how did you escape from the Big Goblin Yuan Li and those human cultivators? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was a cunning old fox. He immediately shouted warily when he saw Bai Ziho and the bald middle-aged man. The attention of all the Tao Defiance was drawn over. "Lord Heavenly Fire, this is what happened," Bai Ziho said with a chuckle. Before he could finish, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord suddenly shouted coldly, "These two are acting suspiciously. Shackle them." The peak over god Tao Defiant unleashed a divine aura that instantly enveloped Bai Ziho and the bald middle-aged man, turning them into a world of drifting dark clouds. Shackles and chains surged out from the world and tightly shackled them. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was very surprised that he could shackle them so easily. But the next moment, his expression changed. "Oh no, there's an ambush!" One after another, the big goblin charged out from every direction while their attention was diverted. In the blink of an eye, they were hundreds of kilometers away. To an over-god peerless expert, a distance of hundreds of millions of kilometers was just a matter of seconds. Although they were shackled in the ninth underworld, preventing them from fusing with the heavenly Tao and teleporting or tearing through space, a distance of a few hundred kilometers could be covered in less than a breath for the big goblin who was at the overgod level. Boom, boom, boom. The monstrous demonic chi transformed into demonic flames that covered the sky and swept over like a tornado. It was too horrifying. Under this round of attacks, 3 powerful resurrected powerhouses were killed, especially Wang Tian, Gu, Badlong Fei, Yu, Material Potential, Yu Huang, Pang Yu, invading Shanmi, Na, Xianling Guangou, Fu Jie, Qianlan Sheng. After that, it rapidly condensed into a huge golden ring. As it suddenly shrank, the world of the Tao Defiance shattered layer by layer. The shackles on Bai Ziho and the bald middle-aged man shattered as well. The golden ring shrank rapidly and trapped the Tao Defiance. As it buzzed and trembled, a shocking force of shackles surged out from the surroundings, and it actually trapped the Tao Defiant, who was also a peak over god. Although it failed to trap him, he was unable to use any abilities at all. "Thank you, over god, for the demon artifact." The golden ring had been given to Wang Tian by Su Fong. Menacing Qi, Yu, Menacing Qi, Gu Wang, Theta Gu, Meng, Menacing Qi, Beach Qi, Ho. If I follow Master, I'll have treasures, resources, and even the essence blood of a great saint of the demon race. I'll follow Master even if you beat me to death. Ha ha! The Qilin laughed wildly and spat out a pillar of water, shattering the body of a Tao Defiant. The other big goblin charged over with great vigor, engaging in an intense battle against the Tao Defiance. It cannot be called a battle. Instead, it was a one-sided slaughter. Over 1,000 big goblins were attacking over a dozen Tao Defiants. If that was not a slaughter, then what was? Bai Ziho and the bald, middle-aged man were affected by the big goblins' attacks as well. They were quite injured, but they ignored their injuries and charged towards Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. The cunning Heavenly Fire Divine Lord saw that the situation was bad, so he unleashed his might. He burned with flames and swept out with a swish. The terrifying might of the flames forced back the big goblin, and he immediately fled into the big goblin's encirclement. However, before he could even breathe a sigh of relief, a black silhouette shot towards him like a bolt of lightning. Boundless demonic chi swept across the area, carrying with it a terrifying aura that seemed capable of destroying the heavens and the earth. The heavenly fire around him collapsed layer by layer. Yuan Li, how dare you scheme against Lord Heavenly Capital's heretical Empyrean Lord? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was alarmed. He finally realized that he had fallen into Su Fong's trap. Just as he was about to use his Might of the Flames to transform into a world of flames to attack Su Fong, a huge commotion suddenly erupted from his body. Purple gas Dharma spirit. How can a purple gas Dharma spirit cause such a commotion? Even if it's a peerless treasure, it's impossible for my purple gas Dharma spirit to cause such a commotion, unless you also have a purple gas Dharma spirit. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was stunned by this discovery. Following that, he bellowed coldly, "Who are you? Why do you have a purple gas Dharma spirit? Once I suppress you, You will naturally know who I am. Su Fong gave a cold and embarrassed smile as he unleashed his prodigious divine destruction fist. Under Su Fong's ferocious attacks, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord did not even have the chance to catch his breath after using his might to condense a world. All he could do was retreat. Heavens? What a waste. You're taking a stand? What's wrong with you? 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 See? What's wrong with you? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord fell into despair as he immediately conjured a crimson cauldron. It floated above his head as it released a stunning defensive barrier that firmly protected him within. At the same time, he shouted loudly, "Lord Heretical Dominator, save me!" Su Fong's consecutive strikes of the prodigious divine destruction fist only caused the barrier released by the cauldron to tremble. He was unable to break through it. Su Fong's brows furrowed inwardly. If evil Dominator Heavenly Capital were to rush over, I would have no choice but to fight him head-on. Although I'm not afraid, if Heavenly Fire Divine Lord were to escape, all my efforts would be for naught. Su Fong immediately took out the heretical god flag as a ghastly head rapidly appeared on it. It was condensing a powerful strike that exceeded that of a lord. Evil Dominator Heavenly Capital, who was in battle with Netherguard, had long sensed the commotion. However, he was entangled with Netherguard and was confident in the strength of his subordinates. Hence, he did not pay much attention to it first. Who knew that in less than half an hour, more than a dozen Lord experts, including a peak Lord expert, had been defeated in such a short period of time. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord strength was no weaker than an ordinary peak Lord expert. What infuriated Evil Dominator Heavenly Capital even more was that the one who had attacked him was the big Goblin Yuan, Li, whom he had been pursuing. He had set up such a trap for Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was a very important figure in the Tao Defiance Alliance. If he were to be captured, even Evil Dominator Heavenly Capital would be severely punished. Big Goblin Yuan Li, I'm going to skin you alive. Evil Dominator Heavenly Capital let out a furious roar. His voice reverberated in all directions as the entire abyss trembled. The inhale chi between heaven and earth surged as it became chaotic. When he clashed with Netherguard, Evil Dominator Heavenly Capital did not use his full strength. He gave off a holy aura as he attacked calmly. At this moment, his aura changed drastically. His face became ferocious, like an evil god. A power that could reverse life and death erupted, shattering the giant ghost head that Netherguard had conjured. Evil Dominator Heavenly Capital then turned around to assist Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Netherguard on the ground was not a living being, but he had his own consciousness. He felt an instinctive fear of Evil Dominator Heavenly Capital's strength. After a moment of hesitation, he gave up on pursuing and slowly closed his eyes. Suddenly, kill. A deep, cold, and extremely domineering roar came from the void. The Netherguard's eyes suddenly opened, and there was actually a look of terror in his deep eyes. Roar. Netherguard let out an earth-shaking roar. There was a loud cracking sound from the ground as two large white-haired hands reached out from the depths of the ground and pressed against the ground. Boom, 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 boom. The ground shook as Netherguard's mountain-like head quickly emerged from the ground. Then his shoulders, body, and finally his two legs. In an instant, a huge monster that was thousands of feet tall appeared in the world. What is that hidden in the void? How can it command Netherguard? Chapter 24:24. Netherguards were powerful existences that guarded the Samsara Tao. Now that Samsara had collapsed and the 9 netherworlds had shattered, there weren't many Netherguards left. However, they were still extremely powerful. What sort of astoundingly powerful existence could command Netherguards? It had to be a peerless, mighty figure from the 9 netherworlds. Evil Dominator Tion do guess that it was at least an underworld supremacy. If this was the natural world, Evil Dominator Tion do naturally wouldn't place Netherguards in his eyes. He wasn't even afraid of underworld supremacy experts. However, he was in the 9 netherworlds, the territory of an underworld supremacy. How could he not be afraid? I'm evil Dominator Tion. Which underworld supremacy are you? Please show yourself. Evil Dominator Tion shouted at the dark void. However, what answered him was Netherguard's frenzied attacks. He saw Netherguard spit out a gust of netherworld aura that rapidly transformed into a black mountain peak that came crashing down on him. Then, Netherguard strode forward like a moving mountain. He grabbed with his right arm as the void within a 5,000-kilometer radius suddenly contracted, transforming into a formless hand that grabbed at him. Legend has it that the 9 netherworlds has a total of 9 underworld supremacies. There are also the 9 rulers of the 9 netherworlds. Regardless of which underworld supremacy you are, with the 9 netherworlds shattered and the samsara Tao crumbling, the 9 netherworlds has already vanished into the annals of history. All that's left is a dilapidated space-time plane. If you dare oppose me, I'll destroy this dilapidated 9 netherworlds and wipe you out completely. Evil Dominator Tion released his divine might as he transformed into a terrifying world where life and death reverse samsara, as he threatened loudly. Although his strength was much stronger than Netherguard's, he was unable to extricate himself from Netherguard's relentless attacks. And on the other side, the heretical god flag had finished accumulating strength as it blasted out a torrential aura of death. As it was unable to trigger the aura of death, its strength wasn't as terrifying as it was in the outside world. However, it still had strength that exceeded that of a lord. Boom! Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's enchantment with the cauldron shattered. The cauldron also cracked under the terrifying might of the aura of death. It lasted for an instant before shattering into pieces. The defense formed by the heavenly fire around Heavenly Fire Divine Lord crumbled from the impact, revealing his divine body. He was tumbling in the murderous aura, and his divine body's defenses were shattered as well. He was in a severely injured state. The evil god flag's attack caused the surrounding underworld energy to tremble violently. The power of the attack soared into the sky and created a huge hole in the dark clouds in the sky, revealing the planar barrier that flashed with multicolored light deep within. Su Fang's figure flashed as he used his movement technique to instantly appear in front of Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. As though he was grabbing a chicken, he shackled him. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, I've missed you so much. After so many years, I've finally caught you today. Having finally captured Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, it meant that the purple cloud's Dharma spirit was in his hands. Su Fang could not help but laugh in delight. You perverted big goblin. I would rather die than submit to you. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord clearly misunderstood. He was already in a severely injured state, and now he was scared out of his wits by Su Fang's words. He could not help but shudder when he thought of the tragic and filthy scene of being ravaged by a big goblin. His head tilted to the side as he fainted. Heavens? Hemorrhoids? Subduing the mule? Hair-catching emblems? Malaria? I never expected Master to have such a fetish. It's too terrifying, but that human cultivator looks like a rotten old man. Master's taste is indeed a little strange. What if one day Master's interests change? He no longer likes humans, but big goblin? We will be in trouble. Heavens? Squandering one's post to pay for one's beard? Is it difficult to overturn one's head? Blasphemy? Xijian? Su Fang first shackled Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and kept him in the internal space of the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. He did not have time to deal with him for the time being. After keeping all the big goblin in the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, he put away the heretical god flag and carefully flew towards the place where evil Dominator Tion and Netherguard were fighting. Of course, he was not there to watch the show. He wanted to wait until evil Dominator Tion and Netherguard were both injured before he killed evil Dominator Tion. Being hunted by an expert in the 9 Nether was not an easy task. If he could kill Tion and get rid of any future problems, it would naturally be best. Furthermore, he could obtain amazing providence. In addition, Su Fong hoped to obtain the life and death interdependence and reversal forbidden art from evil dominator Tian Du from it. He could comprehend the method to come back from the dead. Heavenly fire has been captured by Yuan Li. Evil dominator Tian Du had already sensed that all the experts under his command had been killed, and Heavenly Fire Divine Lord had been suppressed by Su Fong. He calmed down instead, seeing that Su Fong had no intention of leaving and was planning to reap the benefits. Evil dominator Tian Du was enraged. That Yuan Li not only wants to capture Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, but also wants to kill me? A mere big goblin dares to be so arrogant. I swear I will capture you and torture you for eternity. Evil dominator Tian Du no longer hid anything and unleashed his full strength in anger. Boom! His physical body rapidly turned into a state of nothingness as an aura swept out and covered the endless space. Netherguard and Su Fong, who was about 100,000 miles away, were all enveloped by the divine aura before they were sucked into it. In an instant, QL11's Su Fong felt the space-time change as though he had come to another universe. On the vast land, there were endless mountain ranges, dense forests, and winding rivers. It was a scene of exuberant vitality. In the sky, the galaxy was vast and the stars were moving. It was a completely different universe. The energy, laws, and even the heavenly way were completely different from the universe. Evil dominator Tian Du is also going all out. Su Fongdao was shocked as his expression turned solemn. Overgod experts had their own worlds. However, when they were fighting with others, they would not easily use their own worlds to merge with the heavenly way. Instead, they would project the divine aura of their inner worlds into the universe to form a world for defense or attack. That was because once the world collapsed, it would mean that the Overgod expert would be severely injured even if they did not die. Overgod experts would transform their worlds into the universe and constantly seek the path of transcendence. They would not easily use their inner worlds to fight with others. Once their inner worlds collapsed, their realms would fall and they might even die. Evil dominator Tian Du had merged with his own world to fight with Su Fong and Netherguard. Not only was he angered by Su Fong, but he also had other intentions. That was Mystery's doppelganger. Mystery's doppelganger, who was originally hiding in the void, could no longer hide and was drawn into evil dominator Tian Du's world. This was evil dominator Tian Du's true intention. This lord would like to see which underworld dominator dares to be this lord's enemy. Evil dominator Tian Du's voice that was filled with the majesty of the heavenly way reverberated between heaven and earth. Shroud's clone stood in midair while his entire body emanated an icy cold and deathly silence. And he didn't speak a single word like a god of death. You are the son of the heavenly master, the lord of samsara. Evil dominator Tian Du recognized Mystery's true identity, and his voice was filled with panic and fear. Mystery was the son of the heavenly master, the supreme ruler of death in the 10 underworlds. He was also the lord of samsara who ruled over the path of samsara. Moreover, he was a supreme existence that had transcended the heavenly way. How could evil dominator Tian Du not be afraid? No, you're not the ruler of the 10 underworlds. You are just his doppelganger. Evil dominator Tian Du suddenly realized that something was wrong. Then he suddenly realized, Yuan Li, you are definitely not the big goblin Yuan Li. Su Fong has a doppelganger of the ruler of the 10 underworlds beside him. You are Su Fong. Evil dominator Tian Du was an evil dominator who was comparable to the supreme ruler after all, and Su Fong was in his world now. No matter how powerful the demon shape-shifting art was, it could not fool evil dominator Tian Du. Evil dominator Tian Du, your eyesight is not bad. Su Fong smiled coldly and embarrassedly. His body quickly underwent a shocking transformation and turned into a human form. Su Fong, you are indeed Su Fong. Evil Lord Tian Du was shocked, surprised, and greedy at the same time. Everyone thought that you were in seclusion in Primordius Heavenly Palace, preparing to enter the Empyrean Mountain. I never imagined that you would be so bold as to enter the battlefield of the two realms and even come to the 9 Netherlands. Ha ha! My luck is so heaven-defying. I actually managed to capture Su Fong. Hand over the origin sacred mirror. Evil dominator Tian Du was also overwhelmed with joy. It could be said that he was blessed by the heavens. Su Fong asked curiously, "How do you know that the origin sacred mirror is in my hands?" "I am very curious. Not only you, the demon race, and the resurrected experts all seem to know that the origin sacred mirror is in my hands." During the so-called marriage ceremony in the Yuan Tiangong, Su Fong had no choice but to take out the origin sacred mirror to force the supreme ruler of the imperial people to compromise. Later on, the mountain guardian used a supreme divine ability to erase all information about the origin sacred mirror from everyone present to prevent the news from being leaked. Who knew later? Both the Tao Defiance and the demon race knew that the origin sacred mirror was in Su Fong's hands. The supreme evil god has already taken over the heavenly Tao. His will is everywhere. The mountain guardian can erase the memories of the gods, but can he erase the will of the evil god? Su Fong, after I kill you, the origin sacred mirror, the prison suppressing codex, the heaven supervisor token, and the universe chariot will all belong to me. Boom! Evil dominator Tian Du's proud and surprised voice reverberated in the world. An aura that went from life to death and from prosperity to decline suddenly exploded in the world. In the sky, the stars that were originally emitting resplendent light suddenly dimmed. Then, they turned into meteors, burning with sparks as they descended towards Su Fong, Netherguard, and the clone of Netherguard. On the ground, all signs of life rapidly vanished. The forests withered, the rivers dried up, and the endless mountain range instantly transformed into enormous tombs. The aura of death and evil filled the world. In an instant, the universe that was full of life turned into a world of death. The aura of death and evil rose from the ground. Together with the falling stars in the sky, it formed a terrifying scene of destruction. Chapter 24-25. Life Form. Su Fong immediately activated the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda and entered its natal state. Tut tut tut. Fused with hundreds of thousands of big goblin, including Wang Tian, Shui 7 ZD, Zhong, Nan and tossing dice and dice. Tu's Waku Xian Mu Jia. Alpha. Looking at the armor. Screen. Waves. Sluggish. Long. What? Fu. Naga Nagasu Fong's power quickly surpassed the Tao integration stage and continued to climb. In such a state, Su Fong borrowed the power of the origin sacred mirror to cast the great reincarnation art, disintegrating, absorbing, and replicating Tian Du Evil Lord's attack before unleashing it again. Boom! Boom! At this time, Su Fong was like a large mirror. Under the divine power of the great samsara technique, any attack would be given a taste of their own medicine and would be reincarnated into heaven and earth without leaving a trace behind. The stars shattered, the earth cracked, and the world shook violently. However, Su Fong was not an Emperor Realm Master at this time, so the power of the great reincarnation technique was constantly being suppressed. His divine body could not bear the astonishing burden and was constantly shattering. Roar, roar, roar. The Netherguard let out an earth-shattering roar. With its powerful body, it smashed the stars falling from the sky, shattering the power of death and destruction that swept over. Shroud's clone was even more shocking. The cold aura it emitted turned into a terrifying underworld river, spiraling and surging, shattering evil Lord Tian Du's world aura. Even the world itself was shattered layer by layer. What was even more terrifying was that Netherworld's attack also drew upon the power of the 9 underworlds, forming an external pressure that combined with Netherworld's attack, causing Tian Du's world to crumble even faster. At this moment, Tian Du Evil Dominator was facing the attacks of 3 Emperor Masters at the same time, especially Mystery's attack, which was far stronger than an ordinary Emperor Master. I didn't expect that a mere Tao integration stage cultivator would actually possess the strength to shake a supreme sovereign. However, it's still far from enough to shatter my world. All of you die. Between heaven and earth, the evil lord of Tian-Du's voice resounded like the heavenly Tao, vast and mighty. Around Su Fong, Netherguard, and Mystery's doppelganger, a world-destroying divine might enveloped the three of them. Then, a huge explosion occurred. Tian-Du Evil Lord did not hesitate to detonate a part of his world, which was equivalent to harming himself, just to kill Su Fong, Mingwei, and Netherworld's clone. Boom! Su Fong felt as if the universe was about to be destroyed. The terrifying power wanted to destroy him and the world together. It was a critical moment. A figure appeared in front of Su Fong. It was the clone of the G people's first ancestor. It blocked the power of the evil dominator's self-destruction for a moment. The self-destruction of the evil dominator's world was only a small part of it, but it was definitely not something that an over-god could withstand. The clone of the G people's first ancestor instantly shattered and turned into nothingness. However, the clone of the G people's first ancestor had bought Su Fong a brief moment of respite. The divine power of the yin-yang world gushed out from his body and quickly condensed into a defensive barrier. The heavenly Tao avatar also appeared above his head and condensed into the avatar tree, forming another layer of protective divine power around him. In the end, he fused all the power of the big goblin and experts into his divine body in his natal mode. Together with his physical defense, he condensed the final layer of defense. In a flash, the terrifying power swept over, and Su Fong's avatar tree and the divine power of the world were shattered. Then the defense of his physical body also collapsed. Su Fong felt as if his entire body was shattered from the inside out. He was like a sandbag that was swept out from the shattered world and returned to the 9 underworlds. It's really not that easy to kill a venerable emperor. Su Fong checked the injuries on his body and couldn't help but grit his teeth. Blood continuously flowed out from his 7 orifices. His bones and meridians were almost all shattered. His physical body was currently connected by the black lotus blood threads. Otherwise, he would have already turned into a cloud of blood mist or even turned into nothingness under that terrifying destructive power. The world in his body was also violently shaken. Fortunately, with the support of the Jianmu tree, and Su Fong's heaven and earth universe was close to a mature state, it wasn't damaged much. Then, he looked at Ming Wei and Mystery's clone. Although Ming Wei's body was strong, he was too big. In addition, he didn't have a strong defense like Su Fong. At this moment, only his head was left, and his body was shattered into a pile of rubble. Shroud's avatar appeared to be completely unharmed, but his aura had clearly become much weaker. Su Fong reckoned that he could at most display his strength one more time before completely perishing. Su Fong hurriedly used the blue sky blood dome. His blood surged wildly in his body, and at the same time, he fused a blood crystal with his blood. The consumed life force was quickly recovered, and his injuries were also recovering at an astonishing speed. Although he wasn't at his peak state, at least his life wasn't in danger. Evil Dominator Tian-Du's world rumbled loudly and quickly shrunk and then reformed into his original body. Although he had only self-destructed a small part of his world, it was equivalent to burning his own strength and destiny. He looked pale, like a corpse that had just crawled out of a coffin. His aura was also weakened to less than a third of his previous strength. The divine aura and the high and mighty aura of a supreme overlord expert were all gone. He looked at Su Fong. Disbelief flashed in evil Dominator Tian-Du's eyes. Under the destructive power of this sovereign's self-destructing world, you actually didn't die. You want me, Su Fong, to die? It's not that easy. Since I'm not dead, then it's your turn to die. Su Fong displayed the domineering aura of a supreme overlord of a great world and flipped his hand to take out the Heaven Supervisor token. Heaven Supervisor token. Evil Dominator Tian-Du's eyes changed, and for the first time, there was fear in his eyes. This was the 9 underworlds. His strength was restricted, but the Heaven Supervisor token could control the power of the Heavenly Tao Order, but it wasn't restricted at all. Right now, he was heavily injured, and the situation was worrisome. Seeing Su Fong take out the Heaven Supervisor token, Evil Dominator Tian Do realized that if he didn't escape today, he would probably lose his life here. A resurrected expert that had fallen and revived again, in a sense, was no longer a living being. However, this didn't mean that resurrected experts weren't afraid of death. On the contrary, after dying once, a supreme expert like Evil Dominator Tian do cherish his life. Su Fong, I have seriously underestimated you, as expected of the supreme genius who possesses the origin sacred mirror. I'll let you go this time, but next, you'll be hunted down by the Evil Dominator and Demon Sane of the Tao Defiant Alliance. Evil Dominator Tian Du said sinisterly, and then was about to escape. Who knew at this moment? An aura suddenly descended, and it felt as if the power of the entire 9 underworlds was crushing towards him, and the surrounding space was shackled by the heavy pressure. It turned out to be Mystery's doppelganger. Under Su Fong's command, he attacked again and activated the world energy of the 9 underworlds. Although he was just a doppelganger of the origin sacred mirror, he still had the ability to control the 9 underworlds, and even Evil Dominator Tian Du couldn't break through his shackles. At the same time, Su Fong activated the Heaven Supervisor token, and the cold and solemn aura suddenly burst out. In an instant, under the Heaven Supervisor token's aura, a supreme power of the Heavenly Tao Order enveloped Evil Dominator Tian Du, and under this power that even the Heavenly Tao had to follow, Evil Dominator Tian Du couldn't move. Immediately after, it surged out from the void and quickly condensed into chains, intertwining to form a huge cage, and trapped Evil Dominator Tian Du inside. Evil Dominator Tian Du, you'll be the first Emperor Venerable Expert that my Su Fong has suppressed. You should feel honored. Su Fong shouted domineeringly, and immediately activated the prison suppressing codex, preparing to keep him inside the codex. And in this way, he would have an extremely powerful Emperor Venerable Expert under his command. This lord was resurrected from the dead, but unexpectedly, I didn't die under the suppression of the Heavenly Tao, but in the hands of a mere Tao integration realm cultivator. This lord will not accept this. Even if this lord dies, I will never become your slave. Evil Dominator Tian Du laughed maniacally, and a burning aura burst out from his body, and actually used the power of the Heaven Supervisor token shackles to shatter an area of 10 feet. His hands formed a strange seal, and the originally weak aura suddenly became incomparably majestic, and instantly reached the peak of the burning aura. Not good. He's going to self-destruct. Su Fong raised his eyebrows, and immediately activated the Heaven Supervisor token, wanting to stop Evil Dominator Tian Du, but he was still a step too late. Other than transcendence, if this lord wants to take over everything, who can stop this lord? Evil Dominator Tian Du laughed wantonly, and the majestic life aura in his body suddenly underwent a shocking change, turning into an evil death chi, and then suddenly exploded. As if a part of the world was destroyed, the cage formed by the Heaven Supervisor token's Heavenly Tao Order was instantly shattered, and the divine power released by Nethery's clone also collapsed. The terrifying impact force twisted and tore the space apart, revealing a huge crack, as if the 9 Netherland was torn apart. Su Fong quickly activated the Heaven Supervisor token and formed a powerful defense in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. The defense withstood the impact time after time, and lasted for a Joss Sticks time before the entire 9 Netherland gradually calmed down. All the aura of Evil Dominator Tian Du was now gone. Evil Dominator Tian Du died, just like that? Su Fong was still worried, and carefully sensed the aura of Evil Dominator Tian Du in the end. He didn't find any trace of Evil Dominator Tian Du's aura, and he was indeed dead. What a pity, an Emperor Venerable Expert, in that life and death interdependence forbidden technique. Su Fong felt that it was a pity. This was something that couldn't be helped. An Emperor Venerable expert was already a peak existence in the world, and it was extremely difficult to kill one, let alone capture one alive. Suddenly, the black clouds in the sky seemed to be stirred by an invisible hand, forming a huge whirlpool. At the bottom of the whirlpool, as if it was the end of the endless sky, a ray of purple light descended from the depths, landing on Su Fong's body. Su Fong felt a wave of auspicious aura seeping into his body, heaven and earth Dao palace and divine aperture ocean. The injuries on his body, as well as the exhaustion just now, seemed to have been cleansed and instantly recovered wherever the auspicious aura reached. Not only that, under the illumination of the purple light, Su Fong felt the illusory and ethereal fate increasing rapidly, causing the purple Qi Dharma spirit to tremble crazily and wantonly absorb this heavenly fate. Chapter 24-26. After more than 10 breaths, the purple glow rapidly dissipated and everything returned to normal. After the baptism of the supreme heavenly Tao's providence, Su Fong felt every pore on his body was comfortable. Every action he made was in harmony with the heavenly Tao and contained the wonderful charm of the heavenly Tao. The shackles of the ninth underworld and even the heavenly Tao's restraints on him were weakened. At that moment, he felt like a supreme sovereign. Furthermore, there was the feeling of being blessed by the supreme heavenly Tao's providence. It was as though any calamity or calamity would have to avoid him. It was an extremely wonderful feeling. The purple cloud Dharma spirit had also become a lot stronger. The primordial spirit, Az, had become more agile. It was no longer an ethereal primordial spirit, but a spirit formed from the providence of the heavens and earth. After receiving the baptism of the heavenly Tao's providence, it also indirectly proved that the evil dominator of heavenly capital had indeed been killed and had completely vanished from the world. Su Fong was originally a little worried, but now he no longer had a worry. I never expected that killing an evil dominator would give me such astonishing providence. It's much more than the total amount of providence I received from killing all the resurrected experts in the two-world river. If I were to fuse with the purple cloud Dharma spirit of heavenly fire divine Lord, my purple cloud Dharma spirit will definitely undergo another shocking transformation. With the providence the purple cloud Dharma spirit brings me, my chances of breaking through to Lord level will be much greater. Su Fong was overjoyed. After killing the evil dominator of heavenly capital, he had received the baptism of the heavenly Tao's providence. He had even suppressed the heavenly fire divine Lord, and his purple cloud Dharma spirit was about to be obtained. The purple cloud Dharma spirit was about to undergo another transformation. How could he not be overjoyed? The losses this time are also extremely heavy. Su Fong looked at Shroud's avatar and felt a pang in his heart. Shroud's avatar attacked consecutively. At that moment, his figure had become much more ethereal and could no longer be of any use. All he could do was find the 9 nether embryonic stone as soon as possible. This was equivalent to losing his most powerful trump card. The losses were extremely heavy. Attracted by the commotion caused by the battle, Su Fong sensed that countless underworld souls and monsters were gathering in their direction. Clearly, this was not a place to stay. Just as he was about to put Shroud's avatar away, Shroud's avatar suddenly flew to the ground. What is he going to do? QL11's Su Fong was not surprised. He did not give any orders to Mystery's doppelganger. Su Fong couldn't help but get excited when he recalled how Underworld's doppelganger had taken the initiative to speak and order the Netherguard around. Could it be that Underworld's doppelganger has gained self-awareness? Netherworld's clone flew in front of a mountain-like head. It was the Netherguard that was injured by evil Venerable Tion. Seeing Mystery's clone, the Netherguard's eyes revealed a look of fear. His head trembled uncontrollably, and his teeth chattered. The Netherguard was a netherworld monster that used to guard the Tao of reincarnation, while Shroud was the supreme ruler of the Netherworld. Although the Netherguard didn't have much intelligence, how could it not be afraid when it sensed the terrifying aura of Shroud's avatar? Chi. Nethery's doppelganger waved his hand and unleashed a black Xianguang. Like a sharp sword, the Xianguang split open the Netherguard's huge head. Only then did the Netherguard die. Its ugly and ferocious face was still filled with submission and fear. From the beginning to the end, it did not resist at all. What is Mystery's doppelganger doing? The strange actions of Mystery's doppelganger puzzled Su Fong. Next, Mystery's doppelganger reached out and grabbed a fist-sized black bead from the split-open head of the Netherguard. It emitted an incomparably cold aura of death. Su Fong was surprised. Spiritual bead? This Netherguard is the same as the big goblin, possessing a spiritual bead? Mystery's doppelganger opened his mouth and inhaled. The spiritual bead immediately broke down layer by layer, and pure netherworld energy floated out and was absorbed by Mystery's doppelganger. Su Fong sensed that Mystery's doppelganger's aura was rapidly rising. Although it hadn't recovered to its peak state, it was much stronger than before when it was on the verge of dying. It seems that the Origin's Sacred Mirror's doppelganger isn't just a puppet, because it replicated Mystery's life aura. As long as it continues to absorb the energy of the netherworld, especially the netherworld embryo stone that Mystery mentioned, its strength will definitely continue to rise. It might even give birth to my consciousness. This unexpected discovery completely erased the gloominess in Su Fong's heart. After summoning Mystery's doppelganger to his side, Su Fong flew into the depths of the netherworld. Buzz! A commotion came from his body. It turned out that it was the green netherworld bead that Dixuan gave to him. It was specially used to communicate in the netherworld. Su Fong used the demon transformation technique and turned back into the big goblin Yuan Li. As soon as he grabbed the green netherworld bead, Dixuan's anxious voice immediately came from it. "Great Elder Yuan Li, are you all right?" Su Fong coldly replied. "Does Lord Dixuan wish for something to happen to me? Or does he wish for something to happen to me?" Dixuan's somewhat surprised voice came again. "Great Elder Yuan Li is indeed all right." With such a big commotion just now, almost the entire netherworld was shaken. I knew it. With Great Elder Yuan Li's strength and the supreme creation divine tool, like the Eternity Chariot, escaping from the hands of the evil Lord Tiandu is more than enough. Su Fong touched the tip of his nose. Escape. I wonder if Great Elder Yuan Li has seen the Heavenly Fire Inverse Cultivator? Of course I have seen him, Dixuan said regretfully. He was with the evil Lord Tiandu this time. I could not capture him. I could only think of a way to separate him from the evil Lord Tiandu. Only then can I make a move, Su Fong said indifferently. I have already suppressed the Heavenly Fire. At this time, he is shackled in the space of the magic treasure. As for the evil Lord Tiandu, I have also killed him. You have captured the Heavenly Fire? Dixuan was surprised and happy. Then his voice paused, and he said in disbelief, You killed the evil Lord Tiandu. Lord Dixuan, if you don't believe me, you can come and verify it. That won't be necessary. Yuan Li Great Elder Strength is indeed heaven-defying. I cannot help but admire you. When a matter of the evil Lord Tiandu being killed is confirmed, I will definitely inform the supreme existence of my race. I will invite you to enter the Yuan Tiangong and become the first big shot of the demon race to enter the Yuan Tiangong. Dixuan was obviously skeptical, but he still praised Su Fong Da and even made a promise. Su Fong laughed and asked, Lord Dixuan, what do you plan to do next? Of course I will continue to look for the underworld river. It will be difficult to find the entrance to the deeper planes of the 9 underworlds in a short time. Chu Bingyan, Qian Gang, and the others have already separated from me to search. In this way, the chances of finding the underworld river will be higher. In addition, they came to the 9 underworlds for another purpose. Who knows? They might be able to obtain a great fortune. I have other matters to attend to, so I won't be with Lord Dixuan. After ending his conversation with Dixuan, Su Fong put away the azure netherworld bead and used his movement technique to disappear into the vast netherworld aura of the 9 underworlds. He needed to find a place as soon as possible to strip Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord's Purple Cloud's Dharma Spirit. This was one of his goals in coming to the 9 underworlds. Now that the purple cloud's Dharma spirit was finally in his hands, he naturally could not wait to fuse with it. About 3 years later, at the place where Su Fong killed the evil Lord Tian, due from the void, a faint aura of death floated out and slowly gathered together without dissipating. Another dozen years passed. The aura of death increased and finally condensed together, forming a 1,000-foot large oval object that floated in midair. It looked like a cocoon with a divine power that could reverse life and death lingering around it. Time passed, and another 100 years passed. Ka. The cocoon shattered layer by layer as the aura of death surged into the sky. A figure slowly rose from within. Evil Lord Tian Du. The evil Lord Tian Du that was killed by Su Fong had actually come back to life. However, the aura of the resurrected evil Lord Tian Du was obviously not as strong as before. He had already fallen out of the evil Lord realm and was only at the peak of the chief god realm. Although the evil Lord Tian Du had come back to life, he had paid a heavy price for this resurrection. Su Fong, the evil Lord Tian Du, gritted his teeth as the aura of death burned in his eyes. Evil aura of death lingered around him, and he no longer looked the same as before. Su Fong, you were just a Tao integration stage cultivator. How would you know the power of the descend life reversal scripture bestowed by the supreme evil god? I am not some reincarnation. I have used the descend life reversal scripture and completely disappeared from the world. It is as if I have transcended the world and the universe. Even the heavenly Tao cannot detect me, let alone a Tao integration stage cultivator like you. As long as the supreme evil god is not dead, I can come back to life. However, the price of resurrection is extremely heavy and will cause me to fall from the height of the evil Lord. The evil Lord Tian Du sized himself up, and the anger in his heart burned fiercely. A surge of aura of death surged out of his body and turned into burning flames. Su Fong, if I don't take revenge, how can I swallow this anger? Although I cannot kill you, do you think the Tao Defiance Alliance that could destroy all the worlds in this universe cannot kill you? The evil Lord Tian Du left quickly with monstrous anger and killing intent. Su Fong flew towards the depths of the 9 underworlds at a low altitude. He did not deliberately avoid the underworld souls and underworld monsters. Whenever he encountered them, he would release Mystery's clone. There was no need for Mystery's clone to attack. Be it the underworld souls or underworld monsters, once they sensed Mystery's aura, they immediately trembled and did not dare to move. Underworld's clone was like a king, and the netherworld monsters were his subjects. He directly took out the spiritual pearl-like objects of the netherworld monsters and devoured them. As for the underworld souls, Mystery's clone also devoured them like a whirlwind. Su Fong also released his second primordial spirit and devoured the underworld souls to cultivate the immortal soul scripture. After devouring so much, Mystery's clone did not recover to its previous height, but it was still at the level of an ordinary venerable emperor. Moreover, his eyes were no longer as dull as before. Instead, they were filled with coldness and deathly stillness. He was becoming more and more like Mystery's original body. After devouring countless underworld souls, the power of the second primordial spirit was increasing at an astonishing speed. Su Fong found a mountain range shrouded in black clouds and landed on the ridge. He took out a flying sword and opened up a cave in the rock. Chapter 24-27. Su Fong set up an array formation in the temporary cave abode. Then, he released Shroud's avatar to guard the cave abode. After making all the preparations, Su Fong sat cross-legged in the cave abode. He was not in a hurry to release Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Instead, he adjusted his state of mind. It was easy for people to get carried away in the face of great victory, resulting in sorrow after extreme joy. Su Fong remained calm in the face of the purple cloud's Dharma spirit that he was about to obtain. His Tao heart was firm, and he was not swayed by external factors. This was one of the reasons why he could reach where he was today. After adjusting his state of mind to a state of still water, Su Fong released Heavenly Fire Divine Lord from the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda. Su Fong said indifferently, "Grandmaster Heavenly Fire, how have you been?" At that moment, Su Fong appeared in his true form. When Heavenly Fire Divine Lord saw his face and heard his voice, it was as though he had been struck by lightning. He was completely frozen on the spot. Su Fong mocked, "Grandmaster Heavenly Fire, you have become the #1 artifact refiner in the Tao Defying Alliance. Don't you recognize me, Su Fong?" Heavenly Fire Divine Lord woke up from his daze. Immediately, his eyes were filled with despair. "I should have known that only a treasure similar to the Purple Cloud's Dharma Spirit could cause such a huge commotion. Only you, Su Fong, can have a Purple Cloud's Dharma Spirit in the myriad worlds. I should have recognized you as the big goblin Yuanli," Su Fong sneered. "Even if you recognize me, so what? You still can't escape the fate of being suppressed by me. Your Purple Cloud's Dharma Spirit will be Su Fong's sooner or later." Regret, conflict, despair. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's heart was constantly in torment. If Lin Ming had known this earlier, then he would have decisively attacked Su Fong before he entered Primordius' Heavenly Palace and learned that Su Fong possessed a purple energy law spirit. He would have directly killed Su Fong and seized his purple energy law spirit. At that time, Su Fong was just an insignificant ant, while he was the #1 artifact refiner in the myriad worlds. Now, the two of them had completely swapped identities. Su Fong became the #1 genius in Yuan Tiangong, and the fate of the entire universe was tied to him. As for Skyfire Divine Lord, he had become a stray dog that had no choice but to submit to the Tao Defiance. At this moment, not only could he not protect his purple Chi Dharma spirit, even his fate was in the hands of Su Fong. Su Fong said domineeringly, "You must be regretting it now. Why didn't you just kill me back then? You still haven't figured it out. From the moment you tried to seize my purple Chi Law spirit, you were destined to die in my hands." Heavenly Fire Divine Lord revealed a look of resignation. "Su Fong, it's my bad luck that I ended up in your hands. Whatever, take the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit. I have no other request except to live." Su Fong sneered, "Don't forget that you are now my prisoner, not a high and mighty artifact refining grandmaster. You have no right to negotiate with me. There's no need for you to give me the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit. I'll strip it from your body. Your life is mine. I knew you were ruthless and would never let me off so easily. However, don't be smug too early. My Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit has been with me for hundreds of millions of years. It's already connected to my life and has an extremely powerful primordial spirit. Without my cooperation, you could forget about fusing with my Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit." Su Fong gave a disdainful smile. "What you mentioned is indeed a little troublesome. However, it's nothing to me, Su Fong." After forming the seal, his body began to collapse, forming a heaven underworld world that spanned over 200 feet that enveloped Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. He had planned on devouring Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and fusing with the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit. Only then did Heavenly Fire Divine Lord panic. "Hold on. Apart from the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit, I have another supreme treasure that is a supreme creation treasure to any cultivator. As long as you let me off, not only will I give you the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit, but I will also give you the supreme treasure." Supreme treasure? The blood that was surging towards Heavenly Fire Divine Lord suddenly stopped. Then, Su Fong's body condensed from the blood. Following that, he said disdainfully, "Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, you should know that I have the Primordial Chaos Sacred Mirror, the Heaven Overseer Token, the Prison Suppressing Sutra, and the Aeon Chariot. What other supreme Dharma treasure in the myriad of worlds can move me?" Heavenly Fire Divine Lord said, "I have the Purple Cloud's Dharma spirit, so I can naturally obtain countless Dharma treasures. However, I know that these treasures are nothing compared to the treasures you possess. However, the supreme treasure I'm talking about is not a Dharma treasure, but a supreme cultivation technique that allows one to live forever." Su Fong revealed a look of interest. "QL11, what was the purpose of cultivator's cultivation? Wasn't it to seek immortality? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord immediately perked up as he continued. The heavenly Tao is about to be destroyed. The world will be reborn from the destruction. As cultivators, we have to follow the trend. Su Fong mocked. If all you say is such a cliché, there's no need for you to continue speaking. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord hurriedly said, it's because I refined a sacred artifact, which is what human cultivators call a dead artifact. I contributed greatly to the Tao Defiance Alliance, so I was bestowed with a supreme cultivation technique by the Tao Defiance Alliance's leader. It's called the Advent Life Reversal Sutra. This supreme cultivation technique contains a great Tao concept that could defy the heavens and change fate. It was personally created by the supreme heretic god. Advent Life Reversal Sutra. Su Fong's heart jolted. The reason why the Advent Divine Palace was named Advent was because when the Divine Palace appeared, the heavenly Tao's voice shouted Advent. The cultivation technique created by the heretic god was also called Advent. Su Fong refused to believe that there was no connection between the two. Upon catching a glimpse of Su Fong's expression, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord continued, by cultivating in the Advent Life Reversal Sutra, one can escape the shackles of the heavenly Tao and reverse life and death. One can obtain eternal life like the heaven and earth. I'm using such a heaven-defying cultivation technique and the purple gas Dharma spirit in exchange for my life. You won't suffer any losses and will obtain a heaven-defying creation. Show me the Advent Life Reversal Sutra. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord felt like he was grasping at straws as he stared at Su Fong. If I hand over the Advent Life Reversal Sutra, you have to promise not to kill me. Su Fong sneered. Didn't you say that cultivating in the Advent Life Reversal Sutra would grant one eternal life? Why are you so afraid of death? Show me the Advent Life Reversal Sutra, and I promise not to kill you. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord said, very straightforwardly, Su Fong, you are a person who wants to reach the pinnacle of the myriad worlds. I believe that you will not lie to me and damage your Tao heart. Saint, please loosen the shackles on my essence soul so that I can hand over the cultivation technique. Su Fong was not afraid that Heavenly Fire Divine Lord had any tricks up his sleeves to remove the shackles on his essence soul. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord closed his eyes and sent his psyche deep into Su Fong's mind. He transmitted it to Su Fong as sutra text. The sutra text did not appear to be much, but contained a vast amount of profoundness that Su Fong found incomprehensible at the moment. Su Fong deciphered the sutra and fell into deep thought. 3 days later, Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes and nodded. Not bad. It's indeed a heaven-defying cultivation technique. Evil Lord Tiandu must have cultivated in the Advent Life Reversal Sutra. As such, he possesses the supreme Tao technique that allows cultivators to come back to life after death. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord revealed a look of delight. Who knew? Su Fong sneered. If this cultivation technique is so powerful, why didn't you cultivate in it? There must be a huge flaw that makes it difficult for you to make a decision, right? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord forced a smile. Saint, you misunderstand. I cultivate in the Heavenly Fire Great Tao. If I were to cultivate in this cultivation technique, I would lose my ability to refine artifacts. It would also mean that I would lose the importance of the Tao Defiance Alliance. In the future, I would no longer have a foothold in the Tao Defiance Alliance. Once my position in the Tao Defiance Alliance is stabilized, I will naturally rush to cultivate in it. Heavenly Fire, you have yet to give up your evil intentions. You are truly courting death by attempting to harm me. Su Fong's voice was filled with a bleak will to kill. This Advent Life Reversal Sutra does contain the profoundness of a supreme great Tao. It is a peerless cultivation technique that can reverse life and death. However, the great Tao contained in it is not the heavenly Tao, but the Tao of the heretical god. Once one cultivates in the Advent Life Reversal Sutra, although one can come back to life after death and achieve a reversal of life and death, achieving immortality in a certain sense, it also means that one will be branded with the heretical god's brand in one's fate. In the future, One will become the heretical god's puppet and lose oneself. You actually managed to see through the world descent life, reversal scripture, so thoroughly in merely 3 days? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was astounded. He never expected Su Fong to have such astounding insight. He had spent 3,000 years obtaining the Advent Life Reversal Sutra and barely managed to gain a superficial understanding of it. He could tell that something was amiss with the cultivation technique, so he did not cultivate in it. Su Fong had only used 3 days to identify the problem with the cultivation technique. He had directly exposed his intentions. How could he not be alarmed? Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord hurriedly said, I have no intention of harming you. Besides, the heavenly Tao is on the brink of destruction. You are powerless to reverse the situation. So what if the supreme heretical god is about to replace the heavenly Tao and become his puppet? At the very least, one can obtain immortality. Which cultivator wouldn't scramble for it? That's right. Everyone pursues immortality. I, Su Fong, am no exception. However, the immortality I seek is based on freedom and self. If I were to lose myself and become the heretical god's puppet, what's the use of such immortality? Whoosh! Blood surged from the surroundings, engulfing Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Immediately following that, the second essence soul entered Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's divine aperture with a whoosh. It sealed his essence soul once again before forcibly stripping it out of the divine aperture. Su Fong, you said that you wouldn't kill me. To think you went back on your word. Aren't you afraid that your Tao heart will be damaged, making it difficult for you to break through in the future? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's essence soul let out an incorporeal roar. I only want to devour your body and fuse with the purple gas Dharma spirit. Your essence soul won't be wiped out by me for the time being. This isn't considered going back on my word, right? Besides, you betrayed humanity and willingly became the slave of a revived expert. You even attempted to use the Advent Life Reversal Sutra to harm me. Even if I were to kill you, how can my Tao heart be damaged in any way? Chapter 24-28. Su Fong, you are so ruthless. How are you any different from those heretical demons and Tao defiance? You might as well kill me and destroy my essence soul. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's essence soul watched helplessly as his body was reduced to a pool of blood and a bloody aura under the devouring power of heaven underworld. He roared in fear, despair, and anger. Your essence soul is still of some use to me. I'm not sure if you still remember. Of course, you once used the cauldron to refine a demon monkey. That demon monkey only has a remnant soul and will left, but it can't forget you. I want to use your essence soul to resolve its resentment. So Su Fong had left Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord's essence soul, for the demon monkey. Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord ruminated through his memories and finally recalled the matter. He never expected that the cause of his death would be an insignificant demon monkey. How could Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord be willing to die just like that? His essence soul shouted loudly, Su Fong, you can't kill me. I'm the best artifact refiner in the myriad worlds. You can use me to claim credit from the Yuan Tiangong and exchange it for great credit. That's right. You do have some value. However, do you think I would care about the reward from the Yuan Tiangong? Su Fong scoffed. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, I still have to thank you. Not only did you bring me the Purple Clouds Dharma Spirit, but you also brought me the Advent Life Reversal Sutra. Although I will not cultivate in this heretical god cultivation technique, I can gain insights into the great Tao profundity of life after death. I can use it to break through, to become an overgod and sever the shackles of heaven and earth, thereby achieving transcendence, Su Fong said with a chuckle, looking like he was in a good mood. He had planned on suppressing evil Empyrean of heavenly capital and obtaining the dermic art of life after death and establishment after destruction from him. Who knew that evil Empyrean of heavenly fire would perish, foiling Su Fong's plans? He never expected. He had unexpectedly obtained the complete Advent Life Reversal Sutra from Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. How could Su Fong not be pleasantly surprised? Su Fong's words seemed to rub salt into heavenly fire divine Lord's wounds. He was so infuriated that his essence soul nearly collapsed. Su Fong, you will die a horrible death. At the very least, I am still alive and well, while you cannot escape death. Everything of yours, including the purple Qi Dharma spirit and your cultivation, will all belong to Su Fong. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. After sealing heavenly fire divine Lord's essence soul, Su Fong began focusing on conjuring heaven underworld to devour heavenly fire divine Lord's vital essence, cultivation level, and purple cloud's Dharma spirit. Skyfire divine Lord's body floated in the blood. His skin and flesh were being corroded layer by layer. His lifeblood and energy were being devoured by Su Fong. At that moment, everything he had became Su Fong's. Who knew? Less than half of it was devoured. Su Fong sucked the energy contained in heavenly fire divine, Lord's divine abode, into the heaven and earth Tao palace, immediately causing a huge commotion in the heaven and earth Tao palace. When his consciousness entered the heaven and earth Tao palace, he saw that the 75th meridian that was being assailed was producing a shocking commotion. Most of it was burning with yang flames. The 75th yang meridian is about to be born. Su Fong was alarmed and astonished. It was a pleasant surprise. After the 8th transformation, the birth of every yang meridian was extremely difficult. Although Su Fong had been persisting in cultivating the 9 yang 9 transformations, the 75th meridian had remained motionless despite years of accumulation. How could Su Fong not be pleasantly surprised that a yang meridian was about to be born after fusing with heavenly fire divine Lord's energy? The reason this yang meridian can be born is not only because of my long accumulation, but also because of heavenly fire divine Lord's energy. Heavenly fire divine Lord cultivates an extremely unique heavenly fire great Tao. Heavenly fire is also the fire of heavenly tribulation. It contains supreme heavenly Tao powers and fire elemental essence. After I devoured it, it became the opportunity for me to successfully condense the 75th yang meridian. Luck. This is the supreme luck I received from killing evil Lord Tiandu and being baptized by the heavenly Tao. After some analysis, Su Fong found a reason why he had successfully condensed the 75th yang meridian. Therefore, Su Fong stopped devouring heavenly fire divine Lord's body and sealed it. Then, he absorbed the blood water and sanguine dome into his main body. Then, he gathered the yang energy in the 74 yang meridians, the yin-yang world forces of the world tree, and all his strength to form a tsunami-like impact that surged towards the yang meridian that was about to be born. The impact was extremely astonishing. The entire heaven and earth Tao palace trembled as it emanated an astonishing pure yang divine might. No less than 1,000 impacts occurred. QL11 Pa. A dazzling, pure yang xianguang swept through the first yang meridian, stirring up an astonishing aura before surging into the 75th meridian. After the meridian swelled, it burst into flames before calming down. By the time the flames were extinguished, the meridian had transformed into a jade-like yang meridian. The 75th yang meridian was successfully born. The newly born yang meridian took the initiative to approach the 74th yang meridian in the heaven and earth Tao palace. It connected head to tail and finally formed the heaven and earth Tao palace made up of the 75th yang meridian. It made the heaven and earth Tao palace even more vast and profound. Heavenly fire divine Lord, you are really my lucky star. You have allowed me to successfully condense a yang meridian without even fusing with the purple cloud Dharma spirit. I really don't know how to repay you. Su Fong wiped the sweat off his forehead and heaved a sigh of relief. His heart was filled with immense joy as he smiled so widely that he could not close his mouth. The birth of another yang meridian not only meant that the heaven and earth Tao palace was even more vast and stable, but the yang energy was even more boundless and profound. At the same time, it meant that Su Fong's cultivation speed had increased and his strength had increased. It also meant that he had taken another step towards perfecting the 9 Yang 9 transformations. Furthermore, with an additional Yang meridian, he had a greater chance of becoming a Lord-level Divine Lord. The birth of a new Yang meridian drained Su Fong of a lot of Yang energy. At the same time, as his Tao wheel had become even more vast, his Yang energy had also thinned. He had to quickly restore his Yang energy to its peak state. However, Su Fong had no lack of spiritual items that contained pure Yang essence. Furthermore, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's body was a ready-made cultivation material. Following that, Su Fong continued casting Heaven Underworld. He wantonly devoured pills, insights, and a Heavenly Fire energy in Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's body. After about 30 years, Su Fong finally recovered all the Yang energy he had drained to his peak state. Next, it's time to fuse with the Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit. Su Fong was filled with anticipation as he condensed his true body in the blood. Then, he infused his divine might into the blood. He grabbed at the air. A purple glowing meridian that looked like a purple river of stars was pulled out by Su Fong's divine might. Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit. Looking at the spirit meridian that emitted a mysterious purple glow, it looked even more profound and vast than Su Fong's own Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit. Su Fong's eyes flashed with pleasant surprise and excitement. Wong, 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 Wong. Before Su Fong could transmit his thoughts, the Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit in Su Fong's body trembled violently. It seemed like it had lost control and was about to rush out of Su Fong's body. "Azzi, come out!" Su Fong chuckled as he released the Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit, Azzi, from the purple cloud space deep within his body. "Master, if Azzi were to devour this Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit, Azzi would definitely undergo a huge metamorphosis." Seeing Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit, Azzi's eyes flashed with a strange purple light. She could not help but drool, like a gluttonous little girl who had suddenly seen the most tempting candy. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit is naturally for you to fuse with. The stronger you become, the better my luck will be. In the future, my ability to fuse and control Dharma treasures will also be stronger. Su Fong said with a chuckle, looking like he was in a good mood. Azzi excitedly rushed into Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit, but was stopped by Su Fong. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit has been around for countless years. Aren't you afraid that the primordial spirit will devour you if you attempt to fuse with it so rashly? Azzi was given a fright as she obediently floated there. She looked eagerly at Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit. Su Fong pointed at the blood and separated a wisp of blood essence. It enveloped Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit and seeped into the mysterious Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit with his consciousness. A purple-robed youth leaped out from the depths of the Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit. He carried an extremely arrogant air as he shouted at Su Fong domineeringly, "I can't stop you from killing my master, but you can forget about fusing with me. Get out of my space." Su Fong sneered. "What a loyal primordial spirit. Once I kill you, I can easily fuse with you. Kill me? Do you think a mere Tao integration cultivator like you can kill me in my space?" The purple-robed youth snorted disdainfully. A shocking purple storm immediately erupted within the Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit. Not only did it want to destroy Su Fong's consciousness, but it also wanted to devour Su Fong's light from Providence. After casting the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique, Tao Rune surged and burned with the mysterious flame of destiny. Following Su Fong's consciousness, it surged into the Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit space like a tsunami. Under the crushing pressure of the waves of Tao runes, the terrifying purple storm was instantly fragmented. The power of Tao runes swept past the purple-robed youth, wrapping him and burning him wantonly. Next, Su Fong used his blood essence to fuse with the Purple Cloud Dharma Spirit in a domineering manner. At the same time, He penetrated his primordial spirit's consciousness into the depths of the primordial spirit's consciousness and cast the night demon's divine charm soul-absorbing seal. The purple cloud, Dharma spirit's primordial spirit of heavenly fire, was quite extraordinary. However, in the face of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the night demon's divine charm, he had no power to resist. In the end, his primordial spirit's consciousness was forcefully wiped out. Su Fong already had Zi as his primordial spirit of heavenly fire. Naturally, he did not need another primordial spirit. Zi, I'll leave it to you. Su Fong transmitted his thoughts to Zi. Zi, who could not wait any longer, excitedly flew into the purple cloud Dharma spirit. Su Fong absorbed the purple cloud Dharma spirit of heavenly fire into his body. Without the primordial spirit, it would not take long for the two purple cloud Dharma spirits to fuse into one. About 100 years later, Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes. I've finally fused with the purple cloud Dharma spirit. Chapter 24-29. Just as Su Fong merged the two purple chi Dharma spirits into one, and the purple chi leaked out, heaven and earth and the universe trembled slightly. This trembling was difficult for ordinary life forms to detect. Only venerable sovereigns and those who had transcended beyond venerable sovereigns could slightly detect it. Heaven and earth and the universe were peerless magic treasures. At this time, Su Fong merged with the purple chi Dharma spirit and transformed again. His ability to control magic treasures also transformed, causing heaven and earth to be shaken by the power of the purple chi Dharma spirit. Su Fong's sensing ability also swept through the entire universe along with the mysterious purple chi released by the purple chi Dharma spirit. The boundless universe had a vague outline in Su Fong's heart at this moment. Su Fong's sensing power even came into contact with a vague but incomparably powerful barrier. This barrier was the heaven and earth boundary between the heaven and earth universe and the outer world. Those venerable sovereigns can't touch this barrier, even after cultivating for their entire lives. Surpassing this barrier also means transcendence. This is also the direction of the great Tao that I've been searching for. I used the power released by the purple chi Dharma spirit's transformation to touch this barrier by accident. The transformation of the purple chi Dharma spirit actually has such an amazing ability. Even though it was only a fleeting glance, Su Fong was still extremely shocked in his heart, and it gave rise to waves of violent waves that caused him to be pleasantly surprised. He carefully sensed it again. Su Fong discovered that the ethereal and mysterious heavenly Tao was no longer so high and mighty. Instead, it felt like it was being controlled by Su Fong, as if he was controlling a magic treasure. Unknowingly, there was a kind of supreme, heavenly Tao luck enveloping him, making him closer to the heavenly Tao. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The magic treasures placed in the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace, such as the Heaven Supervisor Token, the Prison Suppressing Codex, the Infinity Wheel, and other supreme artifacts, including the Origin Sacred Mirror, were all trembling. Under the power of the purple chi Dharma spirit, they voluntarily submitted and cooperated with Su Fong. In this way, Su Fong's ability to merge and control magic treasures would also be greatly improved. He activated the World Tree and the Yang Meridian to transform into the state of the inner world. Within his inner world, the heavenly Tao's fortune became even more astonishing, causing the operation of the universe within his body to become even more perfect. This was another great benefit brought to him by the purple chi Dharma spirit. By fusing the purple chi Dharma spirit into his inner world and turning it into his own heavenly fate, it would speed up the growth of his inner world and make it smoother. The benefits that the purple chi Dharma spirit has brought me are simply too great. Aside from the ability to control magic treasures, not only has the purple chi law spirit bestowed upon me supreme fortune, but it's also bestowed upon the world within me with supreme fortune. As a result, my chances of reaching over God have increased by at least 30%. Su Fong was overjoyed. Coming to the Nine Netherland was the right choice. Suppressing heavenly fire divine Lord had not only given him a yang meridian, but he had also obtained so many benefits by seizing his purple aura Dharma spirit. The purple cloud Dharma spirit still needs to fuse further. After all, it's two spirit veins. Fusing the two into one still requires a process. Next, I'll carefully study the World Descent Life Reversal Scripture. Su Fong calmed down from the immense joy of the purple Qi Dharma spirit's transformation. Then, in the cave abode, he created a chronological array formation and continued devouring heavenly fire, divine Lord's body. At the same time, he studied the World Descent Life Reversal Scripture. Su Fong had gained insights into the yin-yang transformation and four symbols transformation. These two techniques encompassed thousands of great Tao, so his comprehension ability was naturally astounding. Although the World Descent Life Reversal Scripture was created by the heretical god, its essence remained the same. It was naturally easy for Su Fong to study its profundities. Furthermore, he did not plan on cultivating the heretical god's cultivation technique. He only wanted to use it as a reference, so it was naturally not too difficult. Time flew. Su Fong settled into a meditative cultivation state in the chronological array formation. When he opened his eyes, nearly 500 years had passed in the array formation. The World Descent Life Reversal Scripture uses the heretical god as the heavenly Tao. It will die in the original heavenly Tao and be revived in the heretical god's heavenly Tao. From there, it will escape the restraints of the heavenly Tao. Furthermore, it can borrow the heretical god's strength to become immortal and indestructible. Su Fong had a thorough understanding of the World Descent Life Reversal Scripture's essence. Furthermore, he had learned from the World Descent Life Reversal Scripture, allowing him to gain a deeper understanding of the four symbols transformation. At the same time, he was unprecedentedly clear about the direction of his cultivation, especially the path to becoming a Lord God. The World Descent Life Reversal Scripture is the heretical God's Tao. I can use it as a reference, but I will definitely not walk it. I will not pay the price of becoming the heretical God's puppet. That's because I have my own Tao. I cultivate the 9 yang, 9 transformations, and the world to form my own heavenly Tao. If my heavenly Tao wants to improve further, it has to transcend all restraints. The heavenly secret life shrinking technique severs the karmic fate with the heavenly Tao. The four symbols transformation can allow me to destroy and reconstruct. The heavenly Tao's luck that the purple Qi Dharma spirit bestows upon me allows me to possess great luck. It allows me to break and rebuild. Su Fong already had a plan for how to break through to become a Lord God. However, he had always been hesitant. He would not be afraid and hesitant in the face of death. Through his comprehension of the World Descent Life Reversal Scripture, he had gained unprecedented confidence to face everything. The abyss is clearly not a place to break through to become a Lord God. Once I leave the abyss, I'll find a suitable place and break through to become a Lord God in one go. Su Fong's heart was set. The last of his hesitation disappeared at this moment. I have to find the netherworld sand and the 9 nether embryo stone as soon as possible. Also, I have to help Huang Lingyao obtain the absolute Yin treasure. Then, I'll leave the abyss. Su Fong left the cave and kept Netherworld's clone in his inner world. Then, he flew into the depths of the abyss, constantly projecting his sensory ability. After the transformation of the purple Qi spirit, Su Fong discovered that the shackles of the abyss had weakened significantly. His flying speed and sensory ability were 10 times faster than before. The most basic ability of the purple Qi spirit was the ability to control artifacts. The universe was a supreme artifact. With the transformation of the purple Qi spirit, Su Fong's ability to control the world naturally became stronger as well. Coupled with the power of the heavenly way order that Su Fong had grasped, his ability to control nature had even surpassed peak over gods, reaching the level of sovereigns. As he searched for the Nether River, Su Fong constantly fused his artifacts, including the Origin's sacred mirror. The speed at which all his artifacts were fused was almost 10 times faster than before. This speed was extremely shocking. Even sovereigns could not achieve such a speed when fusing artifacts. After flying in the abyss for almost 100 years, Su Fong still found nothing. However, he discovered the entrance to a deeper space-time realm. The Nine Netherland was simply too big. It wasn't an easy task to find the entrance. Fortunately, Su Fong had Shroud's clone, so he didn't have to worry about the underworld monsters, underworld souls, underworld threads, and other things that could kill an overgod. Apart from the fact that it consumed a shocking amount of energy, there was nothing else that he couldn't endure. Asterisk 1. Asterisk after crossing a dark mountain range. Su Fong was constantly searching when he suddenly felt a movement in his body. A rune talisman let out a clear buzzing sound. He flipped his hand and took a look at it. It was the crescent-shaped rune talisman that Huang Lingyao had given him. There's finally news about Huang Lingyao, the abyss heaven that allowed him to enter the abyss this time. Apart from that, it was also thanks to Huang Lingyao's help. Otherwise, Su Fong would have to face two sovereigns, Dongsha Masheng and the evil dominator of Tian Du at the same time. At that time, it would be hard to say whether he would survive. Su Fong was planning to help Huang Lingyao as soon as possible to obtain the treasure that contained the essence of extreme Yin to repay this favor. As for the rest, Su Fong naturally did not think too much about it, nor did he have any intention of acknowledging Huang Lingyao. After so many years, Su Fong had long lost his killing intent toward Huang Lingyao. However, they had once had sex, which made Su Fong have a very strange feeling towards her. He did not want to have anything to do with her anymore. As soon as he took out the rune talisman, Huang Lingyao's cold and dead voice sounded from it. Yuan Li, quickly come and meet with this sect master. Su Fong asked, Huang Lingyao, are you going to ask for my help? That's right. This sect master has been preparing for all these years. It's time to kill that underworld monster and seize the treasure. Then, Huang Lingyao transmitted her thoughts through the rune talisman, telling Su Fong the coordinates of her location. Su Fong increased his flying speed. About 10 years later, he arrived in front of a tall mountain peak. This mountain peak was tens of thousands of feet high. For some unknown reason, the top of the mountain peak had collapsed, leaving only half of it. If it was intact, the mountain peak would be even more astonishing. The mountain peak was shrouded in black clouds, revealing an ancient and cold aura, exuding an astonishing, shackling force. Su Fong was nearly 10,000 miles away, but he was restrained by the shackling force and could not fly quickly. He could only fly slowly close to the ground, which was only slightly faster than walking. After flying for more than 10 days, he finally arrived at the foot of the mountain peak. The shackling force became even more astonishing. The Yin underworld chi around the mountain peak was condensed into a solid mist by the shackling force, making the mountain peak appear mysterious and ethereal. A black-robed man stood at the foot of the mountain with his hands behind his back. It was Huang Lingyao. Su Fong came in front of Huang Lingyao. Shiming sect master, what kind of mountain is this? Huang Lingyao said coldly. In the ninth underworld, there are many mountains like this. How would this sect master know what kind of mountain this is? If you really want to know the name of this mountain, you might as well call it Mount Ming. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. The Yin treasure you're looking for is on this mountain? Yes. Huang Lingyao nodded. I'll give you a month to recover, and then there will be a great battle. Seeing Huang Lingyao speak so seriously, Su Fong became even more curious. What kind of treasure are you looking for? What kind of Yin underworld monster is guarding this treasure? Chapter 2430. Su Fong stared at Huang Lingyao. What kind of nether monster is this? With your strength, you can fight against an upper chief god. Moreover, you're a member of the Umbra Divine clan. In the ninth underworld, your strength is several times greater than outside the ninth underworld. Even peak chief gods are no match for you. Yet, you're inviting me to help you. The nether monster you're going to deal with isn't an underworld venerable, is it? Huang Lingyao said coldly. Big goblin, you're very cautious. You don't seem like a big goblin, but more like a cunning human. Have you become as cautious as your master, Su Fong, after following him for so long? Su Fong touched the tip of his nose and said indifferently, "Although I'm a big goblin, I'm a divine armed spirit monkey. My intelligence is only higher than a human's. Naturally, I won't be like those crude and stupid big goblins. You'd better tell me in advance what kind of nether monster it is. That way, I can prepare in advance. Since I'm inviting you to help me, I naturally have to tell you in advance. That nether monster is an underworld dragon. It's extremely powerful. In the ninth underworld, only the legendary underworld venerable can suppress it. Underworld dragon. That underworld dragon's remarkable abilities are strange and powerful. At the same time, it possesses the remarkable abilities of the cycle of time and evil curses. If it weren't for the fact that I need its spiritual pearl to cultivate the supreme, remarkable abilities of the Umbra Divine clan, I definitely wouldn't have any ideas about it. There's actually such a nether monster? Well, as long as it's not a powerful monster like the Underworld Venerable, it's not impossible for me to help you once. However, I can't take the risk to help you this time without any benefits, right? You're as greedy as your master, Su Fong. No matter what, you won't forget about benefits. Apart from its spiritual pearl, every part of that underworld dragon's body is a treasure. If taken out, it can definitely be sold for a high price. At the very least, it can be exchanged for a powerful half-creation artifact. These benefits should be enough, right? Su Fong nodded and said, "In that case, it's a deal. Step back and let me lure that nether dragon out." Huang Lingyao's body surged with an ice-cold divine might. He controlled the natural force of the 9 serenities and slowly rose into the air. Su Fong also leaped into the air. Huang Lingyao uttered a strange incantation filled with the aura of death, and his hands changed into strange seals. QL-11, the underworld mountain began to tremble. At first, it was only slightly shaking, but in the end, the entire mountain was shaking nonstop, producing loud rumbling sounds. Su Fong secretly used his divine power to make the heavenly projecting divine wall copy the whole process he saw without missing a single detail. Su Fong had experienced Huang Lingyao's scheming and ruthlessness countless times in the worldlet. It would be good if half of her words were true. Su Fong didn't want to be betrayed by her and help her count the money. Chi! Huang Lingyao suddenly let out a thunderous roar, and an astonishing divine might fell on the mountain peak. The black Xianguang on the mountain peak kept flashing, and the whole mountain quickly condensed into a black mirror. Who dares to disturb this king's sleep? A loud roar came from the mirror, and the mirror shook for a while. Then, an old and ugly face appeared on the mirror. Huang Lingyao reached out and grabbed a white flying sword, which looked like it was made of white bones. The old face said in a gloomy voice, "Dark underworld divine race. That's the Xianming bone sword of Supreme Emperor Mingyu. Are you the successor of Supreme Emperor Mingyu?" Huang Lingyao shouted, "Yes, I am the successor of Supreme Emperor Mingyu. Why don't you come out and kowtow to me when you see me?" The old face snorted. The 9 serenities are broken, and the reincarnation cycle has collapsed. The 9 underworld venerables have long fallen. This king is free now, and no one can restrain this king. If Supreme Emperor Ming Yu comes in person, this king may be a little afraid. How dare you, a mere successor of Supreme Emperor Ming Yu, order this king around? Then I'll drag you out. Huang Lingyao urged the flying sword, setting off a gloomy sword light that swept toward the mirror. Chi! 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 Fine cracks appeared on the mirror on the mountain peak under Huang Lingyao's attack. "Ant, you're courting death." With a roar, the mountain peak shook, the black clouds in the sky rolled, and the wind and clouds changed color. The face rushed out of the mirror. Behind the face, there was a body more than 10,000 feet long, covered with red scales. It turned out to be a monster with a human face and a dragon's body. "Two humble ants, this king will send you to reincarnation." Then the underworld dragon roared again, opened its mouth, and inhaled sharply at Su Fong and Huang Lingyao. In an instant, A divine power that could freeze heaven and earth shrouded the world. Su Fong and Huang Lingyao instantly fell into a gloomy and cold world. Black snowflakes fell from the sky, and the surrounding aura was instantly frozen. Huang Lingyao's sword chi was also frozen in an instant, and then shattered into powdery substances. Huang Lingyao urged the Xianming bone sword to erupt with sword light, which turned into a sea of bones surging around to form a defense. At the same time, she reminded Su Fong loudly, "Be careful, this is just the beginning." As soon as her voice fell, the underworld dragon suddenly opened its mouth and spat out. The world was instantly reversed, from a world of ice and snow to a scorching heat, and the world was filled with terrifying flames. Not only was it the power of the reversal of cold and heat, but it also contained the astonishing power of the passage of time, which shattered the sea of bones around Huang Lingyao. The evil flames made her blood boil and burn uncontrollably, and her life was constantly flowing away. This underworld monster is quite interesting. I reckon that even a master at the peak of the King God realm can only run away when he encounters it. Huang Lingyao must have fought with it before and knows how powerful it is. So, she asked me to help her. Su Fong's interest was immediately piqued. The underworld dragon's divine power was also a kind of power of time. In terms of the power of time, which one could compare to the power of the eternity chariot, Su Fong did not hesitate to take out the eternity chariot, sat down on the seat, and then urged the eternity chariot. The eternity chariot released a supreme power that surpassed the limits of time. As the wheels rolled, the underworld dragon's world was crushed by the wheels of time and quickly collapsed. What kind of magic treasure is that? It can release such power that even this king's supreme ability can be broken? The underworld dragon's world was broken, and it was also affected. Its huge body shook, and it could not help but scream. Without waiting for Su Fong to jump on the eternity chariot, the underworld dragon roared, "Big Goblin, you have angered this king. Even if you have a heaven-defying magic treasure, this king will still swallow you all." The underworld dragon's eyes suddenly burst with blood-red light, sweeping past Su Fong and Huang Lingyao. In an instant, an illusory, strange, and evil divine power enveloped Su Fong and Huang Lingyao. They were hit by an invisible hand, and their divine bodies suddenly emitted a rotten and bloody stench. The blood energy in their bodies began to decay, and it quickly spread to their meridians, bones, and even their divine dwellings and divine apertures. Huang Lingyao was clearly prepared. It was unknown what kind of magic treasure was in his body, but it released a snow-white Xianguang in an attempt to dispel the curse power in his body. Two rays of light, one white and one red, penetrated his body and constantly clashed. Curse power! The underworld dragon could not only use the power of time, but also release the powerful and evil curse power. Fortunately, the purple Qi Law spirit had just transformed. Otherwise, it would have been really dangerous to encounter the underworld dragon. A supreme destiny suddenly erupted from Su Fong's body, dispelling the evil curse power. Then he reached out and grabbed a purple rune talisman. It was the purple luck talisman that he condensed with the power of the purple Qi Law spirit. Back in the outside world, Su Fong used the purple Qi Law spirit and the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique to devour destiny. He could already condense the purple luck talisman. Not only did it have the effect of turning misfortune into blessings, but it could also resist evil curses. At this time, the purple Qi Law spirit had transformed again. He did not need to devour destiny. He could directly use the power of the purple Qi Law spirit to condense the purple luck talisman, and its power was thousands of times stronger than in the outside world. If he was not afraid that Huang Lingyao would be suspicious of him, Su Fong would not have taken out the purple luck talisman. He could directly use the purple Qi Law spirit to dispel the curse power. He crushed the purple luck talisman, and a mysterious purple Qi with an aura that could dispel all disasters surged into the sky. The curse power that shrouded heaven and earth was quickly dispelled like snow meeting a blazing sun. Huang Lingyao finally broke free from the terrifying curse power. However, there were still remnants of the curse power in her body, constantly devouring her blood and corroding her life. If she had not obtained Supreme God Mingyu's inheritance, possessed the power of the underworld, and had a magic treasure that could resist the curse power, she might have already turned into a pool of dirty blood. What kind of talisman is this? It can actually dispel this king's curse? You big goblin, where did you come from? Not only do you have the divine artifact of time, but you also have a talisman that can restrain this king? The Abyss Dragon's divine ability was dispelled once again. Black blood flowed out of his eyes, and his heart was filled with shock. His old face was filled with disbelief, and for the time being, he had no intention of continuing to attack. What a big goblin, Yuan Li. You actually hid such a powerful talisman. If I had known, I wouldn't have needed to make so many preparations. Huang Lingyao was also surprised and pleasantly surprised. It's just a talisman that Master bestowed to me. If you want it, there's no harm in giving you one. Su Fang laughed and said very generously. Huang Lingyao needed to dispel the curse power in her body, so she said without any trace of politeness, "Hurry up and give it to me." Su Fang's expression suddenly turned cold. It's not that I can't give you the purple luck talisman, but you should at least tell me your true intentions for killing this abyss dragon. Huang Lingyao shouted, I just said that I killed this abyss dragon for its spiritual bead. Give me the talisman. Su Fang did not act until he saw the rabbit. How can I give the talisman that Master bestowed to me to an outsider? Unexpectedly, Huang Lingyao gritted her teeth and said, I am your master, Su Fang's woman. You dare to disobey the matriarch's decree? Ah, matriarch. Su Fang seemed to have been struck by lightning. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. He quickly took out a purple luck talisman and flew it to Huang Lingyao. Chapter 2431. The Abyss Dragon's innate abilities were broken one after another. It also realized that Su Fang and Huang Lingyao were not to be trifled with. Of course, the main reason was Su Fang. He had the Infinity Wheel and the purple luck talisman, so the Abyss Dragon's strength had been reduced by more than half. The Abyss Dragon was extremely intelligent. Seeing that the situation was not good, it turned around and flew towards the mirror on the mountain peak. Leave behind your spirit orb. Huang Lingyao's forehead suddenly split open. A bright Xian Guang shot out from her forehead and quickly condensed into a crescent moon. The cold moonlight filled with the power of death enveloped the Abyss Dragon in an instant. It quickly condensed into a boundary and turned into a world with a crescent moon hanging high in the sky. The world was filled with a pure aura of death. Any life in this world would be turned into death. All matter would be frozen by the moonlight that contained the power of death. Huang Lingyao stood in the air under the crescent moon. Her black robes fluttered. Her face was as pale as paper. Her entire body was filled with the cold aura of the underworld. She was no longer a living human. She was like a god of death that ruled the world. Although the Abyss Dragon was a monster of the underworld born in the 9 underworlds, it was also shackled in Huang Lingyao's world. The cold power of the underworld was about to freeze it to death. A monster of the underworld that can give a peak over god a headache has actually been suppressed by Huang Lingyao. As expected of Huang Lingyao, as long as she has the chance, she can soar into the sky. Su Fang crossed his arms and watched the show from afar. He was also amazed by the strength that Huang Lingyao displayed. The moonlight emitted by the crescent moon gradually shrank towards the Abyss Dragon. Layers of moonlight wrapped around the Abyss Dragon. Just as the Abyss Dragon was about to be suppressed by Huang Lingyao, the Abyss Dragon suddenly roared, Junior of the Dark Underworld God Clan, you want to kill this king. How can this king just wait for death? Even if he has to sleep for thousands of years, this king will kill you and that big goblin. Huang Lingyao coldly shouted indifferently, Your innate ability has been restrained by the experts invited by this sect leader. You've already fallen into a situation where you're suppressed by this sect leader, yet you still want to put up a futile resistance? The Abyss Dragon let out a gloomy roar, and a powerful divine might surged within its body. Then it suddenly closed its eyes. In an instant, Huang Lingyao's world suddenly turned dark. The moonlight released by the crescent moon above became brighter and brighter in the darkness, but the power contained in it was constantly swallowed by the darkness. QL11 Su Fangda was shocked. This nether monster actually has such a shocking, innate ability. Dark Moon Kill. Huang Lingyao also appeared to be nervous. With a shout, the nether moon above her head suddenly shot out a dazzling white light. Then it spiraled and whizzed towards the nether dragon. Bang! The abyss dragon's eyes suddenly opened. It was as if there were two divine suns hidden within its eyes. The world of darkness just a moment ago was instantly transformed into daytime. The majestic divine might of the transition from night to day shattered Huang Lingyao's world into smithereens. The whistling nether moon stopped the abyss dragon's attack for a moment, but it also collapsed under the terrifying divine might of alternating black and white. Puff! Huang Lingyao spat out a mouthful of blood with a strong death aura. She fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. The abyss dragon's terrifying divine might instantly swept over and rolled towards Su Fang. Huang Lingyao won a moment for Su Fang. Su Fang put his palms together, and a concept of the evolution of the four symbols gushed out from his body. It circulated around him endlessly. Great reincarnation technique. The abyss dragon's most powerful attack was fused with the power of the great reincarnation technique and seeped into Su Fang's body. Then it was absorbed by the origin sacred mirror in his body. The mirror trembled and replicated the abyss dragon's attack. Then it exploded from the mirror and fused with Su Fang's body. Then it was released through his body. The terrifying power of alternating between night and day swept out. It was exactly the same as the attack released by the abyss dragon. It was replicated and countered. The abyss dragon's divine might was already on the decline. Under the counterattack of the great reincarnation technique, it shattered layer by layer and bombarded the abyss dragon's body. Boom! The abyss dragon would never have expected that its incomparably powerful attack would actually be counterattacked on its own body. Puff! Its eyes shattered, and it let out an earth-shattering scream. Then its huge body was violently flipped over, and the scales on its body fell off layer by layer. Su Fang's figure flashed. He used the speed of the divine armed spirit monkey and teleported in front of the abyss dragon. Boom! Boom! The fist of annihilation smashed over forcefully and domineeringly. The abyss dragon, who was already heavily injured, immediately fell into a heavily injured state. Huang Lingyao was surprised and delighted. He activated the Xianming Bone Sword, which turned into a white sword light and shot into the abyss dragon's head from its right eye. The abyss dragon let out a series of screams. After struggling for an hour, it finally fell heavily to the ground dead. The spiritual pearl is in my hands. Huang Lingyao used the Xianming Bone Sword to split open the abyss dragon's head. From within, he grabbed a fist-sized spiritual pearl that emitted a black crystal light. He was pleasantly surprised. He sealed the spiritual pearl and put it into a storage ring. Huang Lingyao said to Su Fang indifferently, "Yuanli, it's all thanks to you this time. That abyss dragon's corpse is yours. If I see your master Su Fang in the future, I will definitely put in a few good words for him and let him reward you." Su Fang was speechless and smiled bitterly. It was said that they worked together to kill the abyss dragon this time, but in fact he was the main force. In the end, it felt like Huang Lingyao ate the meat and left him with leftovers. What made Su Fang especially depressed was that Huang Lingyao actually considered herself as the mistress. If she knew that the big goblin Yuan lay in front of her was Su Fang, what would she think? However, this time it was not without gain. Just as Huang Lingyao said, this abyss dragon's entire body was a treasure. Other than the spiritual pearl, its scales were incomparably hard, even harder than a royal gray divine artifact. Each scale was the size of a millstone, and there were tens of thousands of them. If it was refined, it would definitely be an extremely powerful defensive magic treasure. It would be perfect for the experts under his command and the big goblin to use. The abyss dragon's skin and bones could also be used to refine magic treasures. Moreover, its flesh and blood contained the pure essence of the underworld qi. For Gui, it was the best cultivation material. Su Fong collected the abyss dragon's corpse and the scales scattered on the ground, and absorbed them into the internal space of the Xianhuang's Six Paths Pagoda in his body. Gui could not wait to appear next to the abyss dragon's corpse. After getting Su Fong's permission, it began to wantonly devour the abyss dragon's flesh and blood. Such a large abyss dragon, and it also contained the majestic essence of the underworld qi. After being devoured by Gui, Su Fong could not imagine how amazing its strength would be. He estimated that a peak king god expert would shed a layer of skin if they were to be stained by its poison. Yuan Li, thank you for your help this time. You go first. I'll stay here to heal. Huang Lingyao sat down cross-legged under the Black Mountain Peak. She seemed to be seriously injured and planned to recover here. Su Fong's divine light swept Huang Lingyao's body. He sensed that although her aura was chaotic, her injuries were not serious. A cloud of suspicion rose in his heart. Netherworld Hierarch, take care. I'll take my leave. Su Fong did not say much. He turned around and glanced at the Black Mountain Peak that had returned to its original state. Then, he left embarrassedly. Huang Lingyao waited until Su Fong had left the range of her senses. Clearly, he was already far away. She coldly smiled. She took out the abyss dragon's spiritual pearl and murmured to herself, "That big goblin Yuan Li would never have thought that I killed the abyss dragon and obtained the spiritual pearl not to cultivate any martial arts, but to use it for another great purpose, millions of miles away from the Black Mountain Peak." Su Fong floated in the air. His eyes flashed with a mysterious purple light. At this time, he was using his great perfection ability. Together with his purple Qi Dharma spirit, his vision penetrated the layers of Yin energy and shackles. He saw Huang Lingyao's every move clearly. Huang Lingyao, oh Huang Lingyao, do you think I, Su Fong, don't know your character? I don't believe that you took the risk to kill the abyss dragon just to obtain its spiritual pearl for cultivation. That Black Mountain Peak is also very strange. It hides the power of space-time ripples. Huang Lingyao obviously stayed there for another purpose. It turned out that Su Fong had already seen through Huang Lingyao's ulterior motive. That was why he stayed to see what she was up to. Huang Lingyao could not sense Su Fong's aura. With the help of his great perfection ability and the purple Qi Dharma spirit, Su Fong's sensing ability was far superior to Huang Lingyao's. She did not realize that her very secretive actions could not escape from Su Fong's eyes. 10 days later, Huang Lingyao, who was sitting cross-legged under the mountain peak, suddenly flew into the air. She chanted the strange incantation again and formed a hand seal. After a violent tremor on the Black Mountain Peak, a black mirror was quickly condensed. Then Huang Lingyao continuously made dazzling hand seals. The mirror began to fluctuate like rivers and seas, and a huge vortex appeared. The vortex was incomparably amazing. As it spiraled and rotated, it seemed to tear apart space-time. At the bottom of the vortex, one could vaguely see an extraterritorial space-time. A large river was surging. The dark river water was vast and mighty, revealing a monstrous aura of death and reincarnation. The Netherworld River. The Netherworld was shattered. The tributaries that entered the Netherworld River dried up one by one, leaving only the incomplete main river. Fortunately, in the inheritance of Emperor Mingyu, there is a way to enter the main river of the Netherworld River. Otherwise, it would be difficult to find the entrance to the main river in the Netherworld for thousands of years. Huang Lingyao stared at the bottom of the vortex and hesitated for a moment. Then, she took out the Netherworld Dragon Spirit Pearl and rushed into the vortex without hesitation. The Spirit Pearl released a protective divine power that enveloped Huang Lingyao. She was sucked into the bottom of the vortex by a vast devouring force and fell into the river. The Netherworld River. Huang Lingyao actually knows the way to enter the Netherworld River and even entered it. Su Fong saw this scene and was shocked in his heart. Immediately, he became excited. He suddenly realized that Huang Lingyao's purpose of getting the Netherworld Dragon Spirit Pearl was to enter the Netherworld River. The so-called practice of using the Spirit Pearl was obviously a lie. Huang Lingyao entered the Netherworld River alone. Obviously, she wants to go in to find the treasure and doesn't want me to know. Humph! Huang Lingyao is still so crafty. Fortunately, I paid attention. The Netherworld River that I couldn't find for so long has finally been found. It's all thanks to Huang Lingyao. Chapter 24:32. Su Fong sat cross-legged in front of the Black Mountain Peak. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, he suddenly flew into the air, uttering strange incantations and forming dazzling hand seals with his hands. If Huang Lingyao were here, she would definitely be shocked. Su Fong's incantations and hand seals were exactly the same as hers, without the slightest difference. It turned out that Su Fong had copied Huang Lingyao's incantations and hand seals with the Divine Sky acting wall. After 10 years of meditation, Su Fong had easily mastered all of them. Such ability was truly shocking. This was mainly due to the strange ability of the Divine Sky acting wall. It could copy all kinds of divine skills and then reenact them exactly, which gave Su Fong the opportunity to comprehend them. The Divine Sky acting wall was a divine tool of creation that had not fully matured. In the hands of others, it was just a defective product, but in the hands of Su Fong, it could display a strange ability that ordinary divine tools of creation could not possess. In addition, Su Fong constantly cultivated the yin-yang transformation and the four divisions transformation, which included all kinds of methods, so it became very easy for him to master other divine skills and hand seals. In addition, he had the universe of heaven and earth in his body, so he could use Huang Lingyao's incantations and hand seals. The Black Mountain Peak began to tremble, and a mirror surface condensed on the mountain. Do you want to contact Yishuan? Before the boundary gate to enter the Netherworld River was opened, Su Fong hesitated for a moment. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A force of induction swept past Su Fong, causing the Destiny Dao runes from the Divine Life shrinking technique to flash rapidly, and finally condensed into the figure of Dongsha Mashing. Su Fong's divine light changed instantly. Not good, Dongsha Mashing found out. Dongsha Masheng and Evil Lord Tiandu were in the returning ruins heaven. Outside they failed to intercept Su Fong, so they entered the 9 underworld from other spacetime nodes. Tiandu Evil Lord was the first to find Su Fong, but he was killed by Su Fong. Dongsha Masheng had been searching for Su Fong in the 9 Nether for so long, and now he had also found Su Fong. Shroud's doppelganger is no longer able to display its powerful strength. Otherwise, it will completely perish. My trump card against Dongsha Masheng is only the Primordial Chaos Sacred Mirror. However, once I join forces with Senior Sister Shu Wanjin to activate the Primordial Chaos Sacred Mirror, I'll be greatly exhausted and it will be difficult for me to enter the Nether River. We still haven't found the 9 Nether Embryo Stone and the Nether Sand. It's not a wise move to fight Dongsha Masheng now. It's also meaningless. Let's lure Dongsha Masheng into the Nether River first. Then, we'll find an opportunity to kill him. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong made a decision. Yuanli, this time, I'll make sure you can't escape even if you have wings. Dongsha Masheng's complacent laughter rang out. Monstrous devil Qi suddenly descended. I don't need any wings. I can still leave calmly. Dongsha Masheng, what can you do to me? Su Fong sneered disdainfully. He struck out a shocking Dharma seal, which landed on the mirror on the peak of the mountain. The mirror rippled violently like the surface of a lake. As it spiraled, it quickly formed a huge whirlpool that went straight to the outer space. He could vaguely see the Nether River surging at the bottom of the whirlpool. Tut, tut, tut. Su Fong unleashed his aura with all his might. Before Dongsha Masheng's world was formed, Su Fong broke through the shackles with an aura that could destroy heaven and earth and flashed into the whirlpool. The terrifying space-time devouring power shattered Su Fong's divine body defense in an instant. He felt like he was going to be shredded into pieces by the whirlpool. Then he felt dizzy and his body fell uncontrollably to the bottom of the whirlpool. Just as Su Fong entered the whirlpool, Dong Xiaomoshing's figure appeared in front of the peak of the mountain. When he saw the whirlpool, he was surprised. The Nether River? The ninth serenity has long been destroyed. The Nether River still exists? When he was about to enter the space-time portal to chase after Su Fong, the whirlpool quickly closed. Dong Xiaomosheng unleashed his divine aura to try to stop it. The whirlpool stopped for a moment. Before Dong Xiaomosheng could enter, the entire whirlpool immediately became unstable. The ninth serenity was originally very fragile. If it weren't for the Nether Dragon, this portal would have collapsed long ago. Now that the Nether Dragon was killed, the portal started to close again and became even more fragile. How could it withstand Dong Xiaomosheng's power? In the end, the whirlpool completely collapsed and turned into space-time turbulence that swept around and shattered the huge mountain peak. Dong Xiaomosheng had no choice but to flee. He escaped again. This big goblin Yuan Li is so difficult to suppress. Dong Xiaomosheng was very unwilling to let Su Fong escape from under his nose again. Pa! A demonic light exploded in front of Dong Xiaomosheng and turned into a figure that knelt down before Dong Xiaomosheng. Lord Demon Saint, I just received news from the Tao Defying Alliance. The big goblin Yuan Li is the #1 genius of the human race, Su Fong. Yuan Li is Su Fong. Dong Xiaomosheng regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If he had known that the big goblin Yuan Li was Su Fong, he would have killed him at all costs. However, he had let him escape twice in a row. How could Dong Xiaomosheng not regret it? Dong Xiaomosheng asked, how is the Tao Defying Alliance going to deal with this matter? The Alliance Master has decided to take action personally and forcefully open a passage into the Nether River at all costs. Then, he will send experts into the Nether River to kill Su Fong at all costs. The demonic silhouette's reply made the Eastern Demon Saint extremely dissatisfied. He was filled with regret. Seizing the Chaos Divine Mirror, the Universe River Chariot, and other Supreme God artifacts, and killing Su Fong with a huge contribution, but he wasn't confident that he would be able to obtain it. Since the Tao Defiance Alliance was willing to pay such a huge price to kill Su Fong, then he definitely wouldn't be able to obtain it. Su Fong, you killed my beloved son. You must die at my hands. I don't believe that I can't find other portals into the Nether River. Dong Xiaomosheng gritted his teeth and waved his hand. The demonic light figure suddenly disappeared, and his figure also disappeared into nothingness. In a chaotic void that was 1 star field away from the 2 world rivers, 9 figures stepped through the chaotic torrent and came to the depths of a chaotic void. These 9 people were dressed differently. There were human practitioners, demons, big goblin, and other alien species. The only thing they had in common was that their auras were void, as if they did not belong to heaven and earth. The void rippled, and a deep passage appeared. The 9 people flashed into the passage and came to an extraterritorial space-time. A black coffin floated in the space-time. 9 fiery, red divine suns were depicted on it. The strange thing was that there was a black arrow stuck in each of the divine suns. The coffin looked very ordinary, but it exuded a terrifying aura that could destroy all life. One look at it would make one enter the illusion of all things being destroyed and the divine suns falling. The 9 figures knelt in front of the coffin. Greetings, Alliance Master. A faint voice came from the coffin, as if it came from beyond the heavens. The 10 emperors who were born from the Tao Defiance, except for the evil dominator Tian Du, are all here. If Su Fong knew, he would feel extremely honored, right? Inside the coffin was the mysterious and powerful Alliance Master of the Tao Defiance Alliance. A resurrected devil saint of the demon race said, Alliance Master, you mobilized 9 emperors for a mere Su Fong. You even asked us to bring the experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance and delayed the plan to attack the Sky Beacon God Realm. Don't you think it's not worth it? It's worth it. It's very worth it. The Alliance Master in the coffin said faintly, as long as we kill Su Fong, the hope of the human race will be completely extinguished. All the efforts of the human race will be nothing more than a deathbed struggle. Therefore, killing Su Fong is more important than breaking through the sky curtain. As long as Su Fong is dead, the hearts of the human race in the universe will definitely be in chaos. At that time, countless humans will join the Tao Defiance Alliance, and the human race will collapse on its own. In 100,000 years, or even 10 million years, the universe will change once more. More emperors will be resurrected from the power of the supreme evil god, and the heavenly Tao will change masters. At that time, we will replace the human race and become the masters of the universe. The 9 emperors said in unison, "Alliance Master is wise." This is a matter of great importance. Not only you 9 emperors, even I will personally send my unshackled doppelganger into the 9 underworlds when necessary. I swear I won't rest until I kill Su Fong. The voice of the Tao Defiance Alliance's Alliance Master came from the coffin. His fierce killing intent caused the surrounding space to collapse layer by layer. Swish, 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 swish. The arrows on the 9 suns on the coffin shot out from the pattern. They connected head to tail in the void, and as they whistled through the air, they tore open a huge vortex. A long river flowed silently within the vortex. It was the legendary Nether River. The Nether River. The Nether River is also a river of the heavenly Tao. The Alliance Master has actually used his supreme divine might to make the river of the heavenly Tao reveal itself. Such divine might is comparable to transcendence. The 9 emperors exclaimed loudly with shock. The Tao Defiance Alliance's Alliance Master's slightly exhausted voice came from the coffin. Quickly enter the Nether River. I'm still unable to hold on for too long with my strength. The 9 emperors flashed into the vortex and quickly sank into the Nether River, and they vanished along with the surging river. The vortex gradually vanished, and then the 9 arrows appeared and flew back into the 9 suns on the coffin. The 9 underworlds. A figure stood loftily in the sky above an extremely deep abyss. It was Dixuan. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Numerous figures arrived by Dixuan's side. Chu Bingyin, Qian Gang, Eli, and Qi Mian had all arrived. Chu Bingyin asked, "Lord Dixuan, you said you have a way to enter the Nether River? Why didn't you immediately take it out when we entered the 9 underworlds?" A supreme existence of my race gave me a boundary breaker talisman when I left the Skybeacon God world, and it was personally created by the guardian of Exalted Celestial Mountain. It can be used to directly enter the Nether River by activating it. However, it can only be used once. If I use it when I enter the Nether River, then I'll have to think of another way to return from the Nether River. Now that so much time has passed, I still haven't obtained anything. I'm worried that undue delay will lead to trouble, so I had no choice but to take out the boundary breaker talisman and enter the Nether River to find the Nether Sand. Dixuan spoke slowly. Qian Gang swept the others with his divine light and asked, "Why don't I see Grand Elder Yuan Li?"